Chapter 15:18. How was he supposed to face Pinliang if he went down the mountain like this? He'd promised Pinliang that he'd help him get his revenge when he returned. But now it was all gone. Not only was he unable to get his revenge, he'd even been injured by Lin Yi. Naipeo felt very wronged. Why? He'd trained in the ancient chrysanthemum arts, gone through so much pain and suffering that normal people couldn't endure, but in the end, he still lost. He couldn't accept it. The chrysanthemum treasure book was one of the two supreme mantras of the martial arts world. The art of dragon mastery had been lost for a long time. It was said that the person who practiced this mantra had died in an accident, and he had no successor to inherit his legacy. So the art of dragon mastery was forever buried underground. The chrysanthemum arts became one of the strongest arts in the Wulian world, but one that couldn't even beat Lin Yi. What kind of level was this? Is Naipeo back? A voice sounded from the yard, and a black-robed figure floated out, stopping in front of Naipeo. Master, it's me. I've let you down. Naipeo couldn't hold back his tears the moment he saw his master. All the hardships he'd gone through since he'd started training surfaced in his mind, vivid in his mind. From the high spirits he'd felt at the start of the test to the pain he'd felt now, it was like a century had passed. It was like a dream. You're crippled? The master looked at Naipeo, noticing the problem. He actually broke your wasp absorption arts. Master, I'm done for. My meridians are all broken. I'm a cripple now. Naipeo said, a little depressed. I met Lin Yi, my enemy, the one who crippled Uncle Heibao. Oh, it's him? He actually broke your wasp-absorbing technique. The sect leader master was a little surprised. It's him. I want to tear him to pieces, but it's impossible now, Naipeo said in pain. Ha ha ha! The sect leader suddenly burst into laughter. Moreover, he seemed to be very happy. Shifu, what are you laughing at? Naipeo paused, not understanding what the master was saying. Naipeo, you really are the lucky star of our everyday. An everyday sect, the sect leader master said with a smile. It seems that my junior brother Black Leopard has also recommended a talent to me. What do you mean? Naipeo paused. Come in, Naipeo, today. You and I, master and disciple, will have a good talk. Allow me to answer your questions. Let's talk about the chrysanthemum arts. The master helped Naipeo up as he spoke in a serious tone. Yes, Naipeo's heart skipped a beat. It seemed like his master wasn't giving up on him yet, as if he had something important to tell him. Naipeo quickly got up and walked into the yard with his master. Sit, Naipeo. Sect head master stretched out his hand and pointed to a chair next to a stone table in the courtyard. Yes. Naipeo sat down respectfully, and the master sat in front of him. Naipeo, do you know why I allowed you, an outsider, to cultivate the chrysanthemum treasure books? Sect leader master asked. Your disciple doesn't know. Naipeo shook his head. He really didn't understand why the master would let him train in such a strong practitioner's arts, allowing him to become a mystic in just a few short months. The chrysanthemum arts is the treasure of our everyday and everyday sect. I let you practice it because you're someone recommended by my junior brother, Black Leopard, the sect leader master said. My relationship with Bao is actually very good. I am 10 years older than him, and I have always treated him like my younger brother. However, he violated the sect rules and was driven down the mountain by my master, who is now the patriarch of the sect. This is one of my regrets. Even though I'm the master now, I can't go against my Shifu's wishes. I see. Naipeo nodded. Of course, that's just one of the reasons. The master said, my relationship with Black Leopard is very good, but that doesn't mean I'll accept anyone he recommends. The main reason I let you practice the chrysanthemum arts is because you have hatred in your heart. You came to practice it with hatred in your heart, and that's your advantage. Oh, Naipeo was a little surprised. Hatred? Yes, in order to practice the chrysanthemum arts, you must have hatred in your heart to succeed. The master said, the chrysanthemum arts is an art passed down from the ancient times, invented by the great god Chiyu. Back then, he didn't like the Yellow Emperor, but the legends said that the Yellow Emperor's art of dragon mastery was extremely powerful, and he wasn't a match for it. And so, after a few failures, he finally put his heart and soul into it and created the chrysanthemum arts, an art that could compete with the art of dragon mastery. When he practiced it, he carried hatred in his heart. And so those who want to practice this art must have hatred in their hearts to succeed. I see. So it has nothing to do with me castrating myself? Naipeo asked. Of course, after castrating yourself, there's only hatred in your heart and no other distractions. It's even better for your practice. The headmaster said, at first, because you had hatred in your heart, I discussed with the elder ancestor and let you try cultivating the chrysanthemum treasure book. I didn't expect you to be such a decisive person. You castrated yourself without hesitation. This made the elder ancestor, and I look at you in a new light. I see. Naipeo understood. Then the others didn't practice this art because they didn't have hatred in their hearts? Yes, this art is the treasure of our sect. How could we just let outsiders practice it? The master said, we've trained a few core disciples to practice the chrysanthemum arts, and naturally they castrated themselves as well. But because they didn't have hatred in their hearts, they went mad and exploded. This hatred must come from the heart, and it can't be faked. So after the failed experiment, no one else has tried this art. No wonder I thought, I was so lucky. I thought Master Heibao was that lucky. Naipeo said. Chapter 1519. So, hatred has its benefits. Naipeo said, surprised. Naturally, hatred has its benefits as well as its drawbacks. Using hatred to motivate yourself is a benefit, of course. The master said, of course, hatred is one facet, and your potential is quite good as well. That's why you've improved so much. But, master, now that my meridians are all broken, Naipeo's face darkened at the thought of his situation. So, what if your meridians are broken? It's a good thing. The master said, do you know why you can't open the jade box for the second stage of the chrysanthemum arts? Does it have something to do with my meridians? Naipeo wasn't an idiot. He thought of the connection right away. The true essence of the chrysanthemum treasure book is that there can be no construction without destruction, and only after destruction can there be construction. The headmaster said, this is a very magical cultivation method. When you cultivated the first level, it made you castrate yourself. This is the so-called destruction and then establishment. The second level is the same. If you want to cultivate the second level, according to the records of our an everyday sect, you must also destroy and then establish. Oh, break and rise? Naipeo paused, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. That's right. In order to practice the second stage, you have to lose all your strength. Only when you've lost all your strength and become a normal person can you start practicing the second stage again. The master said, really? Naipeo stood up abruptly, surprised and happy. So, you're saying that this is a blessing in disguise? You could say that. The master nodded. I've been trying to think of a way for you to break and rise. Do you know? When you couldn't open the jade box for the second layer of the mental cultivation method, I was very anxious to help you, but I couldn't. Why? If that's the case, why didn't you destroy my meridians yourself, making me lose all my strength? Naipeo asked, confused. If I were to destroy your meridians with my own hands, would you hate me? The master didn't answer Naipeo's question, instead asking a question in return. How could that be? Master gave me a helping hand. So how could I possibly hate Master? Naipeo shook his head and said sincerely, even if you crippled my strength for no reason, I wouldn't hold a grudge against you. After all, I'm a disciple of the sect, and you're the headmaster. You're the one who gave me the chance and strength to train. You can take it back any time you want. Why would I have any complaints? Isn't that it? Sect leader master said, I've already said it before. When cultivating the Chrysanthemum Treasure Manual, the most important thing is to cultivate it with hatred. If I were the one who did it, would there still be any hatred? Without hatred, how can we achieve our goals? So, even this requires hatred? Naipeo still didn't understand, but why didn't Master tell me earlier? Previously, I didn't open the jade box, so I was very conflicted in my heart. Of course, we need hatred. The headmaster nodded and said, if I tell you in advance, you may deliberately seek an opportunity to be beaten up, and then the effect of hatred will not be achieved. And now, even if let me ask you, do you have hatred in your heart? Do you want revenge? Yes, of course. Naipeo nodded and gritted his teeth. I want to tear Lin E to pieces. Isn't that it? If I had told you before, and you went to get beaten up, maybe you'd be grateful to the person, maybe even smiling. Why would there be hatred? The master said, this is also why I didn't tell you. I told you to participate in the test and let fate take its course. Hey, I'm actually more anxious than you in my heart. I see. I understand now. Naipeo said, touched. Master, you're too good to me. You're my favorite disciple, the pride of our sect. Naturally, I have to be good to you. The master said, but if you want to step into the higher realms of martial arts, don't be in a hurry to get revenge. With hatred in your heart, it will help you grow. But I promise Liang Bro, I'll get revenge for him as soon as possible. Naipeo said, troubled. You can torture him all you want, but don't kill him. Not only will you vent your anger, but the hatred in your heart won't go away either. The master said, do you know that once you enter Sky Class, both your strength and your lifespan will increase tremendously? You'll even have the chance to enter the path of the heavens to pursue immortality. That's a good idea. Naipeo nodded after a sigh. Helping Pin Liang get revenge was his goal, but he was in the sect now, and the master's words were just as effective as Liang Bro's. This was a good way to deal with the situation, and he'd be able to help Liang Bro vent his anger and increase his strength at the same time. He believed that Liang Bro would be happy to have a strong subordinate for him. All right, I've told you everything that needs to be said. You can go open the second stage of the jade box now. The master said, after that, you can go into closed-door training. I won't disturb you any longer. I wish you good luck in mastering the second stage soon. But I don't even have my strength anymore. Can I practice the second stage directly? Naipeo asked, confused. What you've lost is only your strength, not your practitioner's arts. Your practitioner's arts and strength are separate, Sect Leader Grandmaster said. You must remember, your mental cultivation method is an ancient mental cultivation method. It is different from the mental cultivation methods of ordinary practitioners. Your current Chrysanthemum Treasure Codex is still at the first level, so you can directly cultivate the second level. I understand. Naipeo nodded and said his goodbyes, disappearing from the master's sight. The master, on the other hand, mumbled to himself as he watched Naipeo leave. Naipeo, I hope you won't disappoint me. You're the disciple with the highest chance of breaking through Sky Class and entering the path of the heavens. I hope that you'll be able to fight for a good spot for us in the Sky Class meeting. On Ice Mountain, the sky was getting brighter, and Chikuan stretched, evidently having a good night's sleep, with Brother Ling, the #1 of Mystic, by my side. It's such a good night's sleep. Even in the house, I've never felt so safe. Yu Bing was speechless. Wasn't this flattery a little too much? Chapter 1520. I'm telling the truth, Chikuan said innocently. Can't I even tell the truth these days? Ha. Lin Yi smiled. All right, let's keep going. Qi, are you coming with us? Or are you going on your own? Naturally, I'm following you, bro Lin. With a protector like you, I won't be afraid of getting robbed. Qi said, Don't worry, bro Lin, I won't take your treasures. I'm here to make friends. Qi had changed his mind yesterday. He decided to let Qijiu stay in the Ice Palace as an outer disciple, and he would return to the hidden house Xiao. He believed that with an ally like Lin Yi, he had a high chance of becoming the head of the house. He was alone before, and that was why he wanted to train in the Ice Palace for 5 years before returning to House Xiao, but it was too risky. Who knew what would happen in 5 years? What if Qibing got the position first? As for Zhao Guangyin's son, Zhao Miraculous, he wasn't too worried. Zhao Miraculous was just a spoiled, hedonistic son. Relying on his status as the son of the first wife, he tyrannized the hidden Zhao family. This kind of person was destined to have no future. But once Qibing returned to House Xiao, he gained the favor of Elder Bai and his grandpa, and that gave Qi some pressure. Now, with an ally like Lin Yi, and the fact that Qijiu was training in the Ice Palace, he believed that he would have a certain position in House Xiao. As long as he could fight Qibing, the position of the young head wouldn't be decided so early, and he still had a chance. We're pretty much done with the treasures we have. If we find more, we'll give it to you. Lin Yi and Yubing had found quite a lot, and they'd gotten a bunch from Naipeo and Nitian as well. Other than the snow Ganoderma he gave to Chi-Chi, they still had a lot left. Passing the test wouldn't be a problem. Thank you so much, Bro Ling, Qi said excitedly. Bro Ling, you're so loyal. I'm really grateful. Bro Ling, if you don't mind, let me call you boss, okay? Please. Qi shamelessness left Yubing speechless, and Chi-Chi wanted to puke. She couldn't help but tease. I've never seen someone as shameless as you. I'm just expressing my feelings. What does that have to do with being shameless? Qi pretended like he didn't understand. I can't be bothered to talk to you. It's disgusting. Chi said, Let's talk about taking you in as my little brother later. Lin Yi didn't plan on taking Qi in as a follower for the time being. This guy didn't seem to get along with Zhao Qibing, but he was from the hidden house Xiao after all. Who knew what he would do if he knew his real identity? Don't say any more. How about this? You take me in as an intern. When I perform well, you can promote me to an official one. How about that? Qi wasn't someone who cared about face, so naturally he wouldn't let Lin Yi's rejection go. All right, we'll observe for a while then. Lin Yi didn't have a choice. This guy was just too shameless. Lin Yi could only say yes, but it wasn't a problem for now. He could cancel the relationship at any time. Boss, from today onwards, I'll call you boss. Qi said happily. Boss, let's go then. And since you want me to be your boss, no matter what, there are some things I need to tell you first. You can decide if you want me to be your boss after I'm done. Lin Yi sighed and decided to tell Qi about his identity. Of course, whether or not he wanted to follow him was up to Qi. At the very least, Qi wouldn't dare fight him right now. He could kill him any time he wanted. So Lin Yi wasn't worried that Qi would do something irrational. Oh, what is it? Qi paused. What is it that can stop me from calling you boss? My name isn't Ling Yi, actually. I'm Lin Yi. Lin Yi said. Lin Yi? I think I've heard that name before. Qi felt that the name was familiar. Where had he heard it before? I'm the enemy of your hidden house, Xiao. I broke Xiao Qibing's leg, injured Uncle Zhu and Yao Wang. Lin Yi said, And now, do you still call me boss? Wah. Qi almost jumped up in shock at Lin Yi's words. I was wondering why it sounded so familiar. So you're the legendary Lin Yi, the one you've heard of? Lin Yi nodded. Then why not? Ha ha ha. If that's the case, then I'll call you boss even more. Qi was overjoyed. Lin Yi and Zhao Qibing were enemies. He was just worrying about how to convince Lin Yi to help him fight Zhao Qibing, but now he didn't even need to say anything. They were enemies in the first place. This was great news. You seem really happy. Isn't Zhao Qibing your brother or brother? Lin Yi squinted his eyes at Qi. His guess was right. Qi and Zhao Qibing really didn't get along. Yushan is Yu Bing's brother, right? He got crippled by you, boss, but Yu Bing seems really happy about it. Qi said, we're all smart people, Zhao Qibing and I. Haha, if that's the case, then there's no problem. Let's be on our way. Lin Yi saw that Qi expression didn't look fake and relaxed. Boss, you're too strong. That Zhao Qibing really doesn't know what's good for him. Daring to mess with you. Crippling him is already letting him off easy. Boss, why didn't you kill him? Qi said regretfully. Yu Bing's mouth twitched. This guy was much crueler than him. It seemed that the fights in the other noble houses were intense as well. None of them wanted to be left out. He was too merciful. If he didn't hear that Yushan wanted to kill him, he wouldn't have made the decision to let Lin Yi do it. Do I need you to teach me what to do? Lin Yi said faintly as he looked at Qi. Ugh, of course not. I'm just saying. Qi jumped and quickly said, Boss, don't be angry. I just think that now that Zhao Qi has a Shifu, it'll be hard to deal with him. Shifu? He has a Shifu? Lin Yi paused. Chapter 15:21. This elder bai, he's an Earth-class late-phase peak, and he's your grandpa's personal butler? He's suddenly interested in Zhao Qibing's bastard son? Lin Yi frowned, thinking that this didn't make sense at all. Yeah, there must be something I don't know about, but I don't know what it is exactly. This is a family secret, after all. They wouldn't let me know about it. Qi shook his head. I had a good chance of becoming the next head, but Zhao Qibing's sudden appearance put my position in jeopardy. Oh, try to find out about it then. Lin Yi said that, but he didn't really care about the hidden house Zhao. Zhao Qibing wanted to become the head of the hidden house Zhao, but that would take a while. Even if he did become the head of the hidden house Zhao, he wouldn't be able to come and get revenge right away, putting aside the fact that he wasn't as strong as Lin Yi. Even if he was, he wouldn't act recklessly. Lin Yi understood what Qi meant. Qi wanted to use him against Zhao Qibing, but Lin Yi didn't have the time to do so yet. If Zhao Qibing didn't mess with him, he wouldn't have the time to go after him. After all, he had an Earth-class late-phase peak as his Shifu. It wouldn't be wise for Lin Yi to go after him. All right, I'll find out about it when I get back. Qi could tell that Lin Yi didn't want to make a move, but it didn't matter. Lin Yi and Qibing had such a huge grudge. He didn't believe that Qibing would just let it go. When Qibing had enough strength, he'd definitely go after Lin Yi for revenge. The more he followed Lin Yi, the more shocked Qi was. He felt that Lin Yi had not taken any detours on this snowy mountain. He had been walking in circles, as if he was specifically going for some heaven and earth treasures. Those heaven and earth treasures hidden under the roots and in the snow could be easily found by Lin Yi. In the blink of an eye, he and Chijo's points had broken through the 1,000 mark, and Lin Yi, Yu Bing, and Chi were all showing signs of breaking through the 2,000 mark. Isn't this a little too awesome? Qi had already decided not to stay in Ice Palace as an outer disciple, but since there were so many treasures, he might as well give the hidden house Zhao an exchange right. It was a symbol of honor as well, and at least it could prove his strength. Lin Yi didn't tell Qi or Chijo about Skybolt Pig. Even when he was communicating with Skybolt Pig, Lin Yi only used the excuse of peeing as an excuse, not letting Qi know. Still no sign of the fruit. Lin Yi frowned and asked Skybolt Pig, Oink. Skybolt Pig shook his head. Then let's keep going. There's still one more day to the end of the test. Lin Yi sighed. Things had already exceeded Lin Yi's expectations. The Ice Palace was an unexpected factor. At Zhang Liju's time, the Ice Palace didn't exist yet. And now that the Ice Palace had taken over the snowy mountain and named it Ice Mountain, the fire spirit fruit would most likely be theirs as well. At noon on the third day, Lin Yi and the others were almost at the top of the mountain, but from afar, The peak was surrounded by a huge wall. In front of the wall, there were Ice Palace disciples in white robes patrolling. Evidently, this was the location of the Ice Palace, the forbidden zone for the participants. This time, they wouldn't be able to go any further. The walls of the Ice Palace looked like they were made of ice, but upon closer inspection, Linny realized that it looked more like a hard crystal. On top of the crystal wall, there were cameras monitoring something. It seemed that the Ice Palace had modern electronic equipment. From this, one could see that the people of the Ice Palace weren't the type to follow the rules. This increased Lin Yi's confidence, even if he really couldn't find the fruit. As long as he got the right to trade for treasures, he might be able to get what he wanted. But in the evening, Skybolt Pig suddenly moved and jumped onto Lin Yi, barking nonstop. Of course, Chikuan and Chicho didn't know what Skybolt Pig was doing. They thought that he was just acting cute to Lin Yi. But Lin Yi understood what Skybolt Pig was trying to say. Skybolt Pig must have sensed a location of the fire spirit's fruit. This guy needs to pee. I'll bring him there. Lin Yi shrugged helplessly. Chikuan was speechless. God, a spirit beast needs to carry someone to pee? Ha. Lin Yi smiled, not saying much. He carried Skybolt Pig and went behind a pile of snow. It's up there. I can feel it. Skybolt Pig quickly wrote down its meaning on the snowy ground. Up there? You mean inside the walls? Lin Yi looked up at the mountaintop. That was where the Ice Palace was. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded. As expected, Lin Yi sighed. It was just as he guessed. The fire spirit's fruit was taken by the Ice Palace, and it was impossible for him to find it himself. He could only hope that they won the test and trade it with the Ice Palace. Lin Yi carried the pig back and nodded to Chikuan and the others. It's about time for the test to end. Let's take a break, everyone. Above us is the Ice Palace's territory, and there aren't any treasures to be found. Yubing, Chikuan, and the others all nodded and sat down. Since Lin Yi said he wanted to rest, they'd listen to him. Plus, the treasures they had were more than enough to pass this test. There was no point in searching for more. Lin Yi and the others didn't stay long before Qing floated over. Behind her was a group of disciples in white, and she spoke loudly. Attention all participants. The test is over. Please report to the mountaintop. Little Qing's internal strength was strong. Although her voice didn't seem very loud, with the support of her internal strength, it could travel very far. Everyone on the mountain could probably hear it. Chapter 1522. Since Qing had said that the test was over, naturally Lin Yi wouldn't fight for it anymore. And so they all walked over. The participants on the mountain had been waiting for this moment as well. The treasures on the mountain were pretty much all taken, and there wasn't much left to look for. Looks like everyone's here. Little Qing nodded in satisfaction and said, Next, Little Li will call names. Those who are called can come forward and show their heavenly treasures and points card. The final moment had arrived, and the participants all had different expressions after hearing Qing's words. Those like Lin Yi, who had a lot of treasures, weren't worried at all. Those with few treasures, on the other hand, didn't even think about it. They definitely wouldn't make it to the top 10, so they didn't need to worry at all. The most nervous were those with treasures, but not a lot. They were all hoping that they'd be lucky enough to pass. Chen Jindan, a participant's name, was called, and he came up to the owner of the inn, handing over his points card and treasures. After the innkeeper looked through it, he nodded and said, 355 points. Most of the trial takers who were called had scores of over 300 points. Only a few had scores of over 500 points. There were also a few who had scores of over 100 points. However, these people all had very gloomy expressions. They were already prepared to return home. Yang Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi's name was called, and she walked up with her bag and card, calmly handing it over to the owner. With Lin Yi's help, Chi-Chi's victory in the test was assured. There was no doubt about it at all. 1,500 points. After the innkeeper reported the number on the card, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. He knew very well how strong Chi-Chi was. She was a physical practitioner. After all, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she was at the bottom of the pack, and yet Chi-Chi's score was the highest so far. But the owner let out a sigh of relief when he saw the snow mushroom in Chi-Chi's bag. One snow mushroom was worth 1,000 points, and it seemed that Chi-Chi's luck was pretty good. Of course, the inn owner hadn't watched the entire process of the smelting trial. That was why he was surprised. As for the other trial challengers present, none of them were surprised. Chi-Chi and Lin Yi were on the same team. It was normal for her to have 2,000 points. Lin Yi had taken all of Zhang Naipeo's and Feng Niqian's treasures for himself. Qing had been standing beside the sect master and had seen the entire process. She couldn't take care of every detail, but she could see the big picture. She saw how Lin Yi beat Naipeo and Nitian and knew that Chi-Chi was on the same team as Lin Yi. She wasn't surprised at Chi-Chi's points. After that, it was Yu Bing, Qikuan, Qizhou, and Lin Yi. Other than Lin Yi, everyone else had around 1,300 points. Only Lin Yi had 2,000 points. Lin Yi did this to get first place. Only then would he have more authority, and it would be easier for him to talk to the Ice Palace. It didn't take long before all the scores were tallied. Lin Yi and the others took the top 5 without a doubt. Lin Yi was first, Chi-Chi was second, Yu Bing was third, and Qikuan and Qizhou were fourth. The top 3 would receive special rewards from the Ice Palace, but Qikuan didn't dare think too much about it. He knew that he wasn't as close to Lin Yi as Chi-Chi and Yu Bing were, so he gave up his spot and went to the 4th place with Qizhou. Those trial takers who were not ranked could not help but feel a little depressed. They all sighed, especially the trial takers who were 5 points away from the 10th place. They beat their chests and stamped their feet, secretly cursing their bad luck. Not bad. The trial takers in this phase are not weak. 5 of them have achieved impressive results. Qing nodded and glanced at Lin Yi and the others, her eyes lingering on Lin Yi's face for a while. The top 10 have been announced. Winners, please line up according to your ranking and tell me what reward you want. Li will help you register it. Qing's sharp gaze made Lin Yi feel like he was being seen through. The invisible pressure made it hard for him to breathe. The aura of a sky class was indeed different, but Lin Yi could feel that Qing's gaze was mostly curious, and there was no malice in it. Yes, the first 10 contestants who won were very happy to find the innkeeper to register their names. Those who didn't pass, don't be discouraged. If anyone in the top 10 gives up on becoming an outer sect disciple of the Ice Palace and chooses the right to exchange for the treasures, then the empty spots can be pushed back. Qing said to those who didn't win. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope flashed in the eyes of some of the trial takers who did not win. Of course, these people were all ranked from rank 10 to rank 15. The trial challenger in rank 11 was the most excited. In his opinion, as long as a trial challenger chose the right to exchange for the treasures, then it would be his turn to take the top spot. Wandering cultivator Lin Yi, do you want to become an outer disciple of the Ice Palace, or do you want the treasure exchange, right? The inn owner asked Lin Yi. Lin Yi's victory wasn't unexpected to the inn owner. Lin Yi's situation had made him very curious. He couldn't sense Lin Yi's strength, and Lin Yi's recovery speed had surprised him. Exchange right, Lin Yi said without hesitation. All right. The inn owner wasn't surprised. Someone like Lin Yi didn't need to train in the Ice Palace's outer sect. He had his own way of practicing. After all, most of the lone practitioners who came here would choose to exchange their rights. Hearing Lin Yi's words, the 11th place participant's face went red with happiness. He didn't think that the first person would give up on becoming an outer disciple. Didn't this mean that he'd definitely become a disciple? Freelancer Yang Chi-Chi, may I ask, if you wish to become an outer disciple of the Ice Palace, or do you want the right to trade for treasures? The inn owner asked Chi-Chi the same thing he asked Lin Yi. Exchange right. Chi-Chi said without hesitation, just like Lin Yi. Chapter 1523. As for the 12th place trial taker, just like the 11th place trial taker before him, he was so excited that his face was flushed red. Yu Bing and Chicho chose to stay in the Ice Palace, becoming outer disciples. Yu Bing was different from Lin Yi and different from Qi. Without Yu Shan's threat, he wasn't in a rush to go back. Plus, Yu Shan had just gotten injured, and even if it wasn't because of him, he had to be responsible for it. Yu Bing didn't believe that Yu Shan wouldn't tell on him, and his grandpa might punish him out of anger. However, things would be different if he stayed in the Ice Palace to train. Once he broke through to the Earth class and returned to the family, everything would be settled, and it would be a matter of time before he took over the position of the young master as an Earth class. The top 10 participants, other than Lin Yi, Chi-Chi, and Qi, all chose to stay in the Ice Palace and become outer disciples. As far as they were concerned, it wasn't worth it to participate in the test just for the exchange rights. Take care. Lin Yi patted Yu Bing's shoulder, smiling. I can't interfere with your choice, but if you don't have any hope of breaking through here, you can come back to me. This was Lin Yi's promise to Yu Bing. Lin Yi wasn't someone who made promises easily, but once he did, he would always keep it. As long as Lin Yi broke through to Earth class, he would be able to mass-produce Earth class practitioners, and when Yu Bing came back to him, he would be able to help him increase his strength. You too, I'll try my best to help you with your conflict with House Yu, but for Ning, I hope you can bear with it. Yu Bing nodded solemnly. All right. As long as House Yu doesn't cause trouble for me, I won't mess with them. Lin Yi said. I knew you'd say that. Yu Bing sighed. He wasn't sure whether or not House Yu would mess with Lin Yi. He wasn't the head of the house yet, and he couldn't control House Yu's affairs. Those who want to stay in the Ice Palace and become outer sect disciples follow Little Yi to handle the entry procedures for you. Those who want the right to exchange for the treasures follow me. Little Qing said, the rewards for the top 3 in this trial will be chosen from the heavenly treasures obtained in this trial. Distribute them as soon as possible. At this point, Lin Yi had no choice but to say goodbye to Yu Bing. He didn't know when they would meet again, but the two nodded at each other. There was no need to say anything else. The tavern owner left with the remaining challengers. While Qing continued to speak to the remaining challengers who hadn't won, the trial is over. Everyone can go back. But I have to remind everyone, don't cause trouble in my Ice Palace territory. Once you leave the town, do as you please. Yes, the challengers nodded their heads. How could they dare to disobey little Qing's words? Qing brought Lin Yi, Chi-Chi, and Qi back to the Ice Palace, and the other challengers left as well. Do you want the exchange right now, or do you want to go back and discuss it first? Qing brought Lin Yi and the other two to a waiting room outside the Ice Palace. If you want to exchange right now, just tell me. When we go back, I'll give you a token from the Ice Palace. I'm not exchanging for now. I need to go back to my house first, Qi said. All right, take this. If you need it, you can use this token to come to the town and find the owner. Little Li, Qing handed a strange stone tablet to Qi. Qi quickly took it and put it away carefully. Why aren't you leaving? Qing couldn't help but frown when she saw that Qi was still standing there after taking the token. Qi paused, not expecting Qing to kick him out so soon. He didn't dare disobey, though. I'll go now. Qi had wanted to wait for Lin Yi to go back with him, but it seemed like that dream was gone now. Qi didn't want to leave right away, though. He wanted to wait for Lin Yi at the inn. I'll wait for you at the inn. With that, Qi walked out of the waiting room. There were already disciples waiting outside, ready to send him down the mountain. Ling Chi-Chi, what about you guys? Ching asked after Chi-Kun left. You go first. Lin guessed that what he wanted was probably something precious in the ice palace. It'd be troublesome to bargain. So he let Chi-Chi go first. I need 1,000-year-old snow lotus. Chi-Chi said, I don't have anything to exchange, but I can buy it with money. 1,000-year-old snow lotus? Little Ching frowned slightly, but she still nodded and said, although it's a bit expensive, I really don't know if you have such a precious thing if you want to exchange it with heavenly treasures. However, you can use money to buy it. 5 billion. If you accept it, I'll have someone take you there. 5 billion. Chi-Chi felt a bit dizzy. It wasn't a lot for 1,000-year-old snow lotus, but it was a lot for Chi-Chi. 5 billion was the amount of pocket money she'd had since she was young, plus the money she'd earned from missions these past few years. It wasn't even 1/10 of that amount, but Chi-Chi really needed it. Otherwise, her sister Lil Jill's life would be in danger. She gritted her teeth. Fine, I'll trade. Chi-Chi's family was self-sufficient in terms of education, and the family usually didn't give too much money to support them. They would only get an allowance every month until they turned 18. And so, if Chi-Chi wanted to trade 5 billion for the lotus, she'd have to borrow money from her family. That's right, borrow. She'd have to complete more missions in the future to pay back her family's debt. Take her to the transaction. Ching waved her hand, and an ice palace disciple walked over, bringing Chi-Chi to trade for the lotus. The 1,000-year-old snow lotus wasn't a normal snow lotus, but an extremely rare one. Normal snow lotuses had a flowering period and they didn't bloom all year round. The 1,000-year-old snow lotus, on the other hand, bloomed all year round and only grew in the snowy mountains of the extreme north. Chapter 1524. That was why Greenie agreed to Chi-Chi's trade. 5 billion was a huge sum for the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace didn't have any businesses in the secular world, and all of their income came from selling rare items and training. What do you need? Can you tell me now? Ching had a good impression of Lin. As for Naipeo and Nitian, Ching didn't really like them. And now that a freelancer like Lin had taught them a lesson, she felt quite satisfied. Fire Spirit's fruit, Lin said. What? Ching's eyes froze as she stared at Lin, a little shocked. How do you know about the Fire Spirit's fruit? Who told you about such a thing? Ching's reaction made Lin startled. Could this fruit be some sort of treasure? But Lin didn't want to hide it from Ching. He said, honestly, I saw it in an ancient book. My friend needs the fruit to cure her illness. Ancient book? Ching looked at Lin Yi's eyes and nodded. As far as she could tell, Lin Yi wasn't lying. But the fruit was something that not even the ancient sects knew about, because it was something that only the Ice Palace produced. It was extremely rare. So Lin Yi suddenly bringing up something that only the Ice Palace had shocked Ching. Ching didn't know where Lin Yi got the information from. So she was naturally cautious. Since you know about the Fire Spirit's fruit, then you should know its value. To us, the Ice Palace, the Fire Spirit's fruit is a priceless treasure. You want to trade it for the Fire Spirit's fruit. What do you want to trade for it? Ching could tell that Lin Yi wasn't someone with bad intentions. After hearing the words, Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. How would he know the value of the fruit? He wouldn't know why the fruit was a priceless treasure to the Ice Palace. I have a chi gathering pill. I wonder if I can use it as an exchange? Lin Yi originally thought that using the chi gathering pill to trade for the Fire Spirit's fruit wouldn't be a problem. After all, the chi gathering pill was a powerful tool for breaking through to heaven class. But now, after hearing little Ching's words, he wasn't so sure. Chi gathering pill? Third grade pill? You actually have this thing? Little Ching was a little surprised after hearing Lin Yi's words. Then, a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. You know, an alchemist above the third grade. I don't recognize it. Lin Yi shook his head. I found it in an ancient tomb. I see. Qing's joy disappeared in a flash, and she returned to her cold expression. If you know a third-grade alchemist, then I can discuss with the sect master and ask him to make a pill for us. Perhaps we can give a fire spirit's fruit as a reward. However, if you don't know him, then there's no need to discuss this matter. A fire spirit's fruit as a reward? Lin Yi was planning on getting 2 of them, but after hearing little Qing's words, Lin Yi didn't dare bring it up again. Lin Yi really didn't know an alchemist. Although Lin Yi had been trying his best to learn alchemy, he hadn't made any progress. With his current alchemy skills, he definitely couldn't make a pill for the Ice Palace. If the Ice Palace saw this level of skill, they would probably kill him in a fit of anger. Qi gathering pill, can I? Lin Yi was a little confused. Little Qing didn't seem to care about the Qi gathering pill at all. She only asked about alchemists, but didn't seem interested in the Qi gathering pill at all. The Qi amassing pill might be a treasure in the eyes of the hidden families and ordinary sects, but in the eyes of the ancient families and sects, it's no different from a drug. Xiao Qing said faintly, "A drug?" Lin Yi jumped. "Since you're the winner of the competition, I'll talk to you a bit more." Little Qing nodded. "It's a drug." Although the Qi gathering pill can allow an Earth-class late-phase peak to ascend to Sky-class, it has its flaws. Flaws? Lin Yi quickly asked, then why do the hidden families treat it as a treasure? Different worldviews, different results. Little Qing said faintly, "The ultimate goal of the ancient sects and ancient families is to break through Sky-class and step into the Sky's path. As for the hidden families, having a Sky class is already very impressive. As for breaking through Sky class, that's something they don't even dare to think about." Could it be that after taking the Qi gathering pill, one can only stop at Sky class? Hearing Little Qing's words, Lin Yi had a rough idea of what was going on. If you have a lot of Qi gathering pills, then you can keep eating them until you reach Sky class late phase peak. If you're lucky, you can also break through Sky class. Little Qing said, but it's very difficult to make a Qi gathering pill. As far as I know, even a 4th-level alchemist might not be able to make 1 out of 10 attempts. And it's also very demanding on the alchemist's attributes. That's why every Qi gathering pill is priceless. Then, does that mean that the Qi gathering pill doesn't have any flaws? Don't tell me you're saying that after taking the Qi gathering pill, I can't train on my own? Lin Yi suddenly thought of this point. Smart. Little Qing said, the energy contained within the Qi amassing pill is exceedingly pure. After consuming it, the body will absorb this pure energy, and the natural world's spiritual Qi will become insensitive to it. Unless it's in a place where the spiritual Qi is especially abundant. At the very least, those who have taken the Qi gathering pill before have encountered obstacles in their natural training after breaking through to Sky class and had to continue using all sorts of treasures to increase their strength. It's easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but it's hard to go from extravagance to frugality. Lin Yi understood what Little Qing was saying, so this was the reason why the Qi gathering pill was called Duo. But Zhang Liju's notes didn't mention this, and so Lin Yi didn't understand. I've read in ancient texts that this Qi gathering pill didn't have this many flaws back then. Did it? Of course not back then. The aura of heaven and earth used to be abundant, but now it's getting thinner and thinner, and training is getting harder and harder. Little Qing said, "Do you understand now? If you want to use the Qi gathering pill to trade for the fire spirit's fruit, then we won't agree. Other than that, do you have anything else you want?" Then, how do I get the fire spirit's fruit? I can use money to buy it. In front of Ice Palace, Lin Yi could only keep a low profile and humble. If Ice Palace didn't want to trade, then Lin Yi couldn't force them to trade with him. Chapter 1525. So you're saying there's no room for negotiation? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. No. Little Qing shook her head and said resolutely, My girlfriend. She needs the fruit to save her life. Lin E hesitated. If you can give me the fruit, I can promise you that in 2 years at the most, I'll find a refiner above the 3rd level to help you guys with the pill. Who are you? Why should I believe your promise? Qing frowned and smiled coldly. Who do you think you are? Do you think promises are that valuable? Lin E was speechless from Qing's words. Yeah, in front of the ice palace, Lin E was very small. All right, seeing that you're quite loyal, I can promise you that in 2 years, if you can find a 3rd level refiner, I'll ask the sect master for a fruit for you. Qing waved her hand, stopping Lin E. 2 years? To be honest, Lin E didn't want to wait. Who knew what would happen in 2 years? Lin E could keep his promise, since he was a man of his word, but would the Ice Palace still keep their promise after 2 years? All right, you can go now. Xiaoqing waved her hand and said, the reward for the trial this time should be that snow lingji mushroom. Come and collect it tomorrow. The snow Ganoderma? I don't want it. I just hope that Elder Qing can bend the rules and give me the fruit first. Lin E didn't have much use for the snow Ganoderma, so Lin E gave it up. Qing frowned. I had a good impression of you, so don't say anything else. You want to obtain the fire spirit's fruit with just your words? Even if I agree, the palace lord will never agree. So, Elder Qing, you agree? For Xiao Xiao's sake, Lin E had to be thick-skinned and go with the flow. What did I agree to? Little Qing was stunned. You just said that even if you agree, the palace master won't agree. Lin E said, Elder Qing, you are a heaven stage expert. You will definitely keep your word, right? Since you've agreed, I'll have to trouble you to discuss this with the palace master. I'll definitely repay you in the future. You little baby. Little Qing didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Lin Yi's words. When did I say that I agreed? What I'm saying is even if… Elder Qing, please. Lin Yi said, as long as you are willing to give me a fire spirit's fruit, as long as I can do it, you can ask me to do anything. As soon as Lin Yi's voice fell, a cold voice rang out from behind Lin Yi. I'll let you die. Okay? Although the voice was pleasing to the ear, it was too cold, causing people to shiver in fear. Lin Yi jumped in fright. Since when was there someone behind him? Lin Yi didn't even realize it. But judging from the voice, it had to be the sect master of the Ice Palace. All right, sure, Lin Yi said after a sigh. On one hand, it was because of his feelings for Xiao Xiao, but on the other hand, he was pissed off by the sect master. If Lin Yi said no, then the sect master would probably make him take Xiao Xiao and leave right away. So, no matter what Lin Yi had to say yes. Aunt Qing, let's go. Let him die. The sect master said faintly that Qing didn't expect the sect master to appear here all of a sudden. To be honest, she liked Lin Yi a little, but of course, it was the kind of affection a senior would have for a junior. Qing was already in her 30s, and in her eyes, Lin Yi was no different from a child. She could feel how much Lin Yi loved Xiao Xiao, and so she didn't say too many harsh words to Lin Yi. As far as she was concerned, it wasn't easy for a freelancer to reach Lin Yi's strength today. He must have suffered a lot. She'd seen Nai Peo and Nitian, people who had some talent and achievements, but weren't arrogant. She had a good impression of someone like Lin Yi, who had talent but wasn't arrogant. But since the sect master had spoken, there was nothing she could do. Sect master, please give me a fire spirit's fruit. Lin Yi said, no matter what it is, I'll agree to it. My ice palace doesn't need you to do anything. The sect master said coldly as she looked at Lin Yi. Ice palace master, please agree to my request. If you don't, I won't leave. Lin Yi had no choice. He had no choice but to act shamelessly. There was nothing he could do to the ice palace. Then don't leave. Wait for your death here. There's no food. With that, the sect master pulled Qing. Aunt Qing, let's go. The two disappeared in an instant, and Linny could only smile bitterly in his heart. This sect master was too much of a character. Wasn't she? Linny really wanted to beat this girl up, but he couldn't. Please, we're closing the door. After the sect master and Ching left, two disciples walked over and gestured for Lin-Yi to leave, signaling for Lin-Yi to leave. These two, from what Lin-Yi could tell, were at least Earth class. Even if Lin-Yi tried to fight them head-on, he wouldn't be a match for them. And so Linny nodded and carried Skybolt Pig, carrying Xiao Xiao on his back as he left the reception room. The two disciples didn't bother with Lin-Yi after Lin-Yi left, locking the door, and continuing to patrol the area, ignoring Lin-Yi. The sect master had told Lin-Yi to wait for his death here, and these disciples didn't know what she meant by that. She might have said it out of anger, but since the sect master had said that it was up to Lin-Yi to wait for his death, it had nothing to do with these disciples. As long as Lin-Yi didn't force his way in, they'd pretend they didn't see him. Full. Lin-Yi raised his head, sighing as he looked at the walls and the ice palace doors. This was much harder than he'd imagined. The ancient sects weren't something he could touch right now. Old Lin was right, this level was simply too high. To Lin-Yi, it was a little too high for him to reach. The impression the ice palace gave Lin-Yi was that it was powerful. Any random disciple was an Earth class. Lin-Yi didn't leave. He stood in front of the ice palace. Since he was going to act shamelessly, he'd act shamelessly to the end. Lin-Yi wasn't leaving. Chapter 1526. Lin-Yi's stubbornness that Ice Palace was a righteous sect, and Lin-Yi didn't piss them off, nor did he rob them. All he did was ask them to give him a fire spirit's fruit, so at most they wouldn't give it to him, but they wouldn't do anything to harm Lin-Yi. Time flew, and it was the next morning. A girl in green came out from the Ice Palace. It was Ching. After seeing Lin-Yi, she handed a stone plate and a jade box to Lin-Yi. This is your reward for winning a snow Ganoderma, and this is the token of our Ice Palace. You can use it to exchange for treasures. I don't want it. Please help me. Elder Ching, give me a fire spirit's fruit, and I'll find a third-level refiner for the Ice Palace. Lin-Yi rejected the items. Why are you so stubborn, little kid? Don't think that I'm easy to talk to, and you can't stop nagging me. I can't make decisions for the Ice Palace. Ching frowned. I'll leave it here. Do you want it or not? With that, Ching put the jade box and stone plate on the ground in front of Lin-Yi and floated back to the Ice Palace. Lin-Yi took a deep breath and looked at the jade box and stone plate on the ground, not picking them up. Since he was already here, Lin-Yi naturally wouldn't just leave. This was Xiao Xiao's last hope, and Lin-Yi didn't want to give it up just like that. No matter what, he had to try. Lin-Yi only hoped that his sincerity would move Aunt Ching and the sect master. Elder Ching didn't say if they wanted to kick Lin-Yi out. She only asked if he wanted it or not, and Lin-Yi didn't say if he wanted it or not. So with Lin-Yi standing there, the Ice Palace disciples didn't dare make a rash decision to kick Lin-Yi out. When these disciples were patrolling back and forth, they only glanced at Lin-Yi's figure standing tall in the snow and silently walked over. Elder Ching's words were not to be disobeyed, and the disciples did not dare to act on their own. They had the right to chase away strangers who were not part of the Ice Palace, but they didn't know what kind of person Lin-Yi was. Since Elder Ching didn't say anything, then let him continue standing there. Seeing these disciples ignore him, Lin-Yi felt a little more at ease in his heart. What was certain was that Aunt Ching was a very kind person. Perhaps in her heart she wanted to help Lin-Yi. But because the fruit was something very important to the Ice Palace, she couldn't just agree to Lin-Yi's request. As for that unreasonable sect master girl, Lin-Yi didn't have much of a bad impression of her. Her attitude was normal to Lin-Yi. If the fruit really was something very important to the Ice Palace, then it would be strange if a stranger like him would give it to him so easily. It was just like when Fatty Lai asked for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. He didn't even know him. So why would he give it to him? But Fatty Lie was lucky. He found half a pill in the dog poop in the trash. Now Lin Yi placed all his hopes on Aunt Ching. He hoped that she could put in a good word for him in front of the sect master. He hasn't left yet, the sect master asked, seeing Aunt Ching return. No, he's still standing in front of the ice palace. Ching sighed. Aunt Ching, I don't think it's easy for this kid. Why don't we just give him a fruit? He promised us that within 2 years, he'll find a 3rd-level refiner to make pills for us. You believe the words of a freelancer? The sect master smiled faintly. But this Ling, he seems different. He was able to beat Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nitian. That's enough to say that he's special. Which sect's master isn't a freelancer? Ching said, and from his tone, it doesn't seem like he's lying. The ice heart jade bone pill is too important to you. If you can really make it, you'll be able to change your constitution after ingesting it. Even if you can't feel the heritage of the ice mountain, it'll still help you break through to sky class. The ice heart jade bone pill, even if it's a 3rd-level pill, requires at least a 5th-level refiner to make it. Even if he finds a 3rd-level refiner, what use would it be? The sect master shook her head. Are there still refiners in the common world? Even in our ancient sects, alchemists are extremely rare. Moreover, the high-level alchemists are all concentrated in the Sky Elixir School. Do you think he has the ability to convince the Sky Elixir School to send a 5th-level alchemist to refine pills for us? A look of disgust flashed across the sect master's eyes when she mentioned the Sky Elixir sect. Ching didn't know what to say. She was right. All the high-level refiners were gathered at the Sky Elixir sect, and the only refiner in the Ice Palace was only a 2nd-level golden class refiner. And this was already very amazing. In the other ancient sects, there were still 1st-grade alchemists, and some didn't even have alchemists, only ordinary alchemists. Is there still no reply from the Sky Elixir sect? 10 billion. Is that not enough to get them to concoct pills for us? Speaking of concocting pills, the sect leader thought back to how she had asked Aunt Ching to negotiate with the Sky Elixir sect. The young master of the Sky Elixir sect said that unless you marry him as a concubine, the Ice Palace and the Sky Elixir sect will be in-laws, and you'll be able to make any pill you want. Even if it's a 4th-level pill, you can ask his grandfather to make it for you. But other than that, the Sky Elixir sect doesn't lack money. Ching sighed. Shameless. The sect master humphed. Wishful thinking, someone who only knows how to make pills and has no strength. I can kill him with 1 finger. The sect master rarely got angry, but after hearing the young master's reply, she was infuriated. No strength. Ching couldn't help but smile bitterly, but they are the strongest sect in the ancient sects. Although the core members of the Sky Elixir sect all practice alchemy-related arts, and even if they are Sky class, they don't have much fighting strength, but there are too many Sky class masters who are willing to risk their lives for the Sky Elixir sect. Little Ching was right. In the Heavenly Elixir sect, the sect master, the young sect master, the elders, and even the ancestor of the Heavenly Elixir sect all cultivated auxiliary mental cultivation methods. This was also the reason why they had such achievements on the path of alchemy. Chapter 1527. Ching's plea. This generation's young headmaster had even said that he would take all the beauties from the ancient sects and ancient houses into his harem. Although from this, it could be seen that the young headmaster was extremely lustful, but from another angle, it could be seen how ambitious the Sky Elixir School was. He had arranged marriages with all the big sects, turning them all into in-laws to strengthen the Sky Elixir School. It was as if those who obeyed him would prosper, and those who didn't would perish. Some of the smaller sects that didn't listen to him would be destroyed if they didn't agree to the marriage. As for the ancient sects, they wouldn't dare do anything now, but once their power reached a certain level, they wouldn't be able to hold themselves back from attacking the disobedient ancient sects. The Sky Elixir School's actions showed that they wanted to be the #1 school in Wulin, but while everyone could see it, they couldn't stop it. They had so many supporters. The masters and sects that had taken benefits from the Sky Elixir School would probably be the first to become their fighters for the sake of better pills. The young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect had just reached adulthood, but he already had a large number of wives and concubines. He had already sent letters of engagement to many sects and families wanting to marry the young women of these families, especially those with talent and strength. If he really got his way, then the next generation of the Sky Elixir School, apart from the children that had the talent to become high-level alchemists, would all be on the path of cultivation. The future of the Sky Elixir School would be unimaginably strong. Therefore, anyone with a discerning eye could see that the Heavenly Elixir sect was planning something big, and the so-called young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect was just an excuse to cover it up. I hope that after the Sky class meeting, there will be a few more people who step into the Sky Dao. That way, we'll be able to keep the Sky Elixir School in check. If we let them grow, the sect master didn't continue, but the meaning behind her words was clear. So, I feel like we can give it a shot. That Ling Yi said he was so confident that he could find a third realm alchemist. It would be a great fortune for our ice palace. If we can rope him in, our power will increase as well. Qing said, Sect Master, what do you think? Confident? What kind of *T is confidence? Unless he can produce concrete evidence to prove that he can find a pill master. Otherwise, why should we believe him? The sect leader shook her head. The fruit is just as important to our sect. Although we have 2 fruits this season, we still have to go into seclusion for the Sky class meeting. I'm afraid that when the time comes, Little Qing sighed and didn't say anything more. She knew that the sect leader was speaking the truth. There were 2 of them, but they were still precious. Songshan's police station, Lingshan's office. The robberies had only stopped for a few days, and now it was happening again. After Lingshan sent all the police to patrol, Songshan's security had improved greatly, and the robber didn't commit any more crimes. Lingshan, however, hoped that he would do it again. She had people stationed in front of all the big business places and banks, ready to take him down as soon as he did it. But the robber seemed to have seen through everything and stopped. So, be it, the next step was to solve the case. A couple of experts from Donghai had come as well, analyzing the case and drawing up a sketch of the suspect's appearance. Just as they were analyzing the case, something else happened. The streets of Songshan suddenly had a lot more crimes. The suspects were all wearing masks, and if they weren't robbing innocent people on the streets, they were harassing young girls and even raping them. According to the victims, the suspects in these cases all matched the physical characteristics of the suspects in the previous robberies. They could basically confirm that it was the same person, but this made Lingshan even more doubtful. The previous cases could be said that the suspect was after money. After all, banks and large commercial places were places where there was a lot of cash. Just one hit, and they'd be able to get a lot of money. But how much money could these innocent people have in their pockets? According to the records, the victims were robbed around a few thousand kwai, with the highest being a few 100,000, and the lowest being only a few hundred. This made Lingshan and the experts all puzzled. What was the suspect trying to do? Wasn't the money from before enough? Why did he start robbing innocent people? But how much money could these innocent people have? All the money he robbed from the innocent people added up didn't even exceed 300,000 kwai, not even a fraction of the money from his previous crimes. What was this person thinking? Detective Wang, what do you think the suspect is trying to do? Lu Wanli finished explaining the case and turned to a middle-aged man beside Lingshan. This middle-aged man was a famous private investigator in Donghai, Wang Hecken. He was very famous in Donghai, and he was here as an expert to help the Songshan police solve the case. According to the current situation, there are two possibilities. The first is that the suspect is provoking the police because from his previous cases, he doesn't lack money, and he wouldn't be interested in these innocent people's money because the amount is too small. Wong Hecken said, from his previous crimes, this suspect is extremely domineering, so we can't eliminate the possibility that he is provoking us. That's possible, but if this person is after money, why would he provoke us? Ling Shan subconsciously felt that this reason didn't make sense because it was too ridiculous. I'm not sure about that. This is just a preliminary analysis. It's just a hypothesis. Wong Hecken said, the second possibility is that this person is a psychopath, and there's something wrong with his heart. Just like what you said, Captain Song. If this person is after money, why would he provoke us? I think there's something wrong with his heart, and this is a psychopathic suspect. A psychopath? Ling Shan nodded. That makes sense. This guy's targets are random, not the kind that's been stalking for a long time. He's just randomly picking a random person on the street, and that makes it harder for us to solve this case. Chapter 1528. Chapter 1527. Jiang Wen's Plan. Ling Shan didn't know what to say. Most of the police force was gathered near the banks and the commercial areas, who would have extra police force to patrol the streets. Plus, even if they did, they would only be concentrated near the main roads. Songshan was a big city, and there were even suburbs nearby. How could they patrol all of them? It wasn't that Ling Shan didn't send people to patrol the area when the kidney trafficking organization was involved, but it didn't have much effect. You didn't know when and where the suspect would commit the crime. Wong Hecken was a person with the ability to solve cases, but he was a bit of an amateur when it came to police work. Of course, but Songshan has a lot of districts, and we don't have enough people at all. The suspect's crime locations are completely random. One day, he'll be here, the next he'll be there, and the day after that, he might be back or resting. There's no pattern at all. Ling Shan smiled bitterly. Right now, the most important thing is to lock onto the suspect's identity and compare his height and appearance with the database. It has been compared many times. In the database, people who have criminal records and are similar to this suspect have been investigated and can basically be eliminated. As for those without criminal records, there are too many people of this height and build. Because the suspect is masked, it is temporarily impossible to determine the characteristics of the appearance. Although the suspect has committed crimes while wearing stockings, such opportunities are relatively rare. The victim was very shocked at the time and did not remember the outline of the suspect's foreign trade. Other times, the suspect's face is covered with a thick mask, and people can't see his face clearly. Wang Li explained, "That's not my job scope. My job is to speculate on the criminal suspect's mind and find clues. In this kind of random crime situation, it's not the time for detectives to find clues," Wong Hecken said. "Captain Song, we've received a report that the suspect has committed a crime in Jiaozi town. The office door was pushed open, and one of Ling Shan's subordinates came in to report to Ling Shan. Ling Shan had ordered them to report immediately if there was anything related to this case. It didn't matter if she was in a meeting or resting. They were to be notified immediately." "What? Another crime?" "He ran all the way to Jieji town." Ling Shan paused. Jiaozi town was a small town under one of Songshan's subordinate counties. It was 200 kilometers away from Songshan city center. This criminal was really ruthless. He actually went to such a far place to commit the crime. Wouldn't it take 2 hours to get there by car? "Yes, I just received a report from the police of Jiaozi town. So I came to report to Captain Song," the man replied. "Can you confirm that it's the same suspect?" Ling Shan asked. "That's basically it." He nodded and said, "This person's modus operandi is exactly the same as the previous cases. This time, his target was an old man who was selling roasted sweet potatoes. After the suspect successfully robbed the old man of more than 400 yuan, he was about to leave. The old man's son was not far away and rushed over to snatch it back. As a result, the suspect punched a big hole in the big roasting oven and stuffed the old man's son's head into the oven. Fortunately, the oven had been extinguished for a while, so the old man's son was only slightly scalded. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. That should be the suspect. Only someone as strong as him could punch a hole in a metal oven. Other robbers wouldn't be able to do that, and their modus operandi wouldn't be this brutal either. Wang Hecken nodded. Everyone, go to the scene immediately. Although they knew that they wouldn't be able to catch the suspect, they still had to go to the scene to investigate. The task force nodded silently and got ready to go to Jiajizi town. Jiang Wen's villa. How's it going? Is the plan going well? Jiang Wen asked Scorpion as he drank his coffee. Master Wen, everything is going according to plan. 01 would commit a crime every few days. And Ling Shan's probably on the Jiuqian Literature Network already. What? Scorpion said. I heard that they're trying to figure out 01's motive, but no matter what they think, they wouldn't think of your plan. Master Wen, of course, this time, it's killing two birds with one stone. Even if we can't get rid of Lin Yi, we can disgust him a little. It'd be best if Meng Yao fires him as soon as she sees him. Without this bastard around, it'd be a lot easier for me to pursue Meng Yao. Jiang Wen said, Young Master Wen, with your current status, what kind of woman can't you have? I heard that even the elders of the Fire Wolf gang have the intention to betroth their granddaughter to you. You are simply the god of fortune of the Fire Wolf gang. Scorpion didn't understand why Jiang Wen was so into Meng Yao, to the point where he would do anything to frame Meng Yao's bodyguard. Lin Yi, you don't understand. Take me, for example. I've played with a lot of women, but for Meng Yao, it's a childhood dream. After all these years, it's become an obsession in my heart. If I don't get her, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Jiang Wen said, My status has risen, but I still want to make her my woman. I see. Scorpion nodded, not really understanding. He'd never experienced something like this before, so naturally he wouldn't understand Jiang Wen's feelings. He only nodded. How's the plan progressing? Jiang Wen asked. According to your plan, Master Wen, it's time to expose the plate. So I told 01 to hang a TT000 plate at the exit of Songshan's highway. There should be cameras around there, and if Ling Shan's careful enough, she'll notice it. Scorpion said. That's right, Master Wen. I'm sure you'll notice it. Not bad. Not bad at all. Jiang Wen nodded, satisfied. Let's maintain this progress and expose this plate more. After that, we'll execute the next plan, make 01 tear off his mask and reveal his face for an instant. Chapter 1529. Chapter 1528. Boring and right, Professor Yin. How's your experiment going? Jiang Wen turned to the professor. Robbing guns, banks, shopping malls, hotels. The money's still too slow. If we were to rob those noble houses, TSK, how many treasures and valuables would there be? Master Wen, with your support, I've made some breakthroughs in my research, but some of the data was destroyed. I'm trying my best to restore and improve it. Professor Yin said, the biochemical fluid I've been cultivating now can temporarily increase a person's strength to the level of a mystic class master, but the duration is very short. From start to finish, it's only about 3 minutes. The professor admired Jiang Wen from the bottom of his heart. To the firewolves, whoever could earn the most money was the boss. And so, the professor listened to Jiang Wen's orders. Plus, Jiang Wen had given him quite a lot of live test subjects through the underground arena recently, and his research speed had improved by leaps and bounds. Still too weak, and the duration is too short. Jiang Wen shook his head. You'd need to be at least an Earth class or Mystic late phase peak if you want to rob those noble houses. Plus, The time you're in there is way too short. You'll probably be killed before you even get out. If we calculate the time well and have the hypnotist input the test subject's program, they'd only be able to bite the capsule when someone attacks them. The professor said, "No, if we're going to do it, we have to do it perfectly. Professor Ian, continue perfecting the potion, and we have to increase the duration and strength of the potion. Otherwise, I can't let them rob noble houses. Normal noble houses may not have as many masters as the hidden noble houses, but they do have masters at Mystic Late Phase Peak. We have to be careful," Jangwon said. "But don't worry, even if we don't do business for a year, the fire wolves wouldn't say anything." "That's true. Young master, one has already made a lot of money for the gang recently. Who would dare to say another word?" Professor Ian nodded in agreement. "Villa District. House choose villa. Yao Yao, let's go shopping?" "We haven't gone shopping in a long time." Yushu was bored, out of her wits. How did she spend her weekends in the past? Was it because she used to have Shield Bro by her side? But that's not right. What happened before Shield Bro came? What was she and Sister Yao Yao doing? Yushu thought about it for a long time. She couldn't recall anything else other than going shopping, so she decided to go shopping with Meng Yao. "Let your Yun sis go with you. It's too hot. I don't want to go out," Meng Yao said weakly. She'd gotten a bit of a heat stroke today. "Get me a cold drink from the fridge downstairs before you go. I'm so dizzy I can't even focus." "Tang Yun sis, come shopping with me?" Yushu saw that Meng Yao's mental state wasn't very good, so she turned her attention to Tang Yun. "Little Shu, go and study. Be good." Tang Yun waved the exercise book in her hand. "I was so busy dating your Shield Bro that I fell behind in my studies. I need to work harder, or else what if I can't get into university?" "Man, it's so boring you guys aren't going." Yushu walked down the stairs and got Meng Yao a cold drink. Wu Qintian was practicing in the living room, and General Weiwu was playing with his lion in the yard. Yushu looked at them, bored. She felt that Wu Qintian was a far cry from Lin Yi. He wasn't fun at all. Yushu didn't want to talk to him anymore. She took the drink and went upstairs. "Here, Yao Yao sis." Yushu passed the drink to Meng Yao. "There's no Shield Bro's saliva this time. Not even if I wanted to," Meng Yao said grumpily as she took the drink, opened it, and took 2 sips. "Oh, Yao Yao sis, you finally admitted it. You want to have it." Yushu tried her best to entertain herself. "Who said I want to have it? Tang Yun is here. Don't talk nonsense." Meng Yao's face turned red as she scolded Yushu. "Did you get heat stroke too? What are you talking about?" "I'm fine. Don't mind me." Tang Yun waved her hand. In fact, she understood what was going on. She didn't want to stop it, and she couldn't. Just like Xiao Xiao, letting nature take its course was the best. It was impossible to force Lin Yi to stay away from Meng Yao and Yushu, and it was inevitable that they would develop feelings for each other. Tang Yin didn't know what Meng Yao was thinking, whether or not she wanted to go further with Lin Yi, but she knew that Yushu had such thoughts. Plus, with Yushu's personality, Tang Yin knew that she couldn't stop it. It would only backfire. Plus, with their current relationship, Tang Yun couldn't really stop it. Yushu didn't have any bad intentions, and she was easy to get along with. "Look, Tang Yun sis already said it. And you still don't want to admit it?" Yushu gave Meng Yao a look. Meng Yao's heart skipped a beat after hearing Tang Yun's words, but she still acted like she didn't care. "I don't know what you're talking about. I got heat stroke, and I need to rest. You play. I'm not going to talk to you anymore." "Man, if only Shield Bro was here. He'd treat your heat stroke, and you'd be fine in no time. That Wu Qintian down there is also a mystic, but he doesn't know anything." Yushu complained. "All right, just say that you miss Shield Bro. Don't push it to us." Meng Yao said, "Yeah, I didn't say I didn't want him. I did." Yushu nodded, as if it was a fact. Tang Yun and Meng Yao couldn't help but laugh when they saw Yushu's face. I wonder if things are going well on Lin Yi's side. Tang Yun said worriedly after laughing. There's been no news for 6 days, and Lin Yi hasn't called back either. To be honest, I'm really worried. Chapter 1530. You're speaking up for him? The last time Lin Yi had called was 6 days ago, and he'd said that he'd reached a small town called Ice Snow Town. It was very close to the extreme north, but the terrain had changed a bit since ancient times. He'd tried a couple of roads, but he couldn't get there. He decided to wait a couple of days for the wind and snow to stop, and then he'd go on foot. After that, the trial happened. Lin Yi didn't want to worry Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Shu, so he didn't tell them about it. He wanted to contact them after the trial was over. Who would have thought that there would be so many troublesome things after the trial? He didn't get the fire spirit's fruit, so how could Lin Yi leave so easily? In the trial, in order to prevent the teams from contacting each other with satellite phones, there seemed to be signal interference on Ice Snow Mountain. There was no signal here at all. So, even if Lin Yi wanted to contact Tang Yun and explain the situation, he couldn't. But Lin Yi couldn't leave either. He could only contact them after he got back. Let's hope so. Tang Yi nodded, but she was still worried. The sun rose and set, and it was another day. The disciples around the ice palace changed batch after batch, but Lin Yi was still standing at the entrance, waiting for Elder Qing to convince the sect master to give him the fruit. Lin Yi's heart was filled with helplessness and bitterness. It was a feeling of defeat in the face of the cruel reality. Lin Yi was a proud and aloof person, and he never lowered his head to any power, not even House Yu, who was stronger than him. But at this moment, there was nothing Lin Yi could do. The strength of the Ice Palace was beyond Lin Yi's understanding. Lin Yi understood that in order to save Xiao Xiao, the only way was to lower his head. What else could he do? He couldn't fight them, and he couldn't steal the fruit. Not only would he die here, but Xiao Xiao would die as well. Therefore, the only thing Lin Yi could do was to move the Ice Palace with his persistence. Although it looked a little ridiculous, this was the only way for Lin Yi. Luckily, Lin Yi had the halo of being the top participant. As long as he didn't do anything against the rules of the Ice Palace couldn't do anything to him. You can't kill someone just because he begged you to treat his girlfriend, right? Although the Ice Palace was domineering, they didn't want to do such a thing. Although no one would say anything if they did it. Who would dare to participate in the next Ice Palace trial? Any trial taker who wanted to trade for treasures from the Ice Palace would be killed because they wanted to trade for treasures from the Ice Palace. What would the Ice Palace become then? Therefore, Lin Yi was determined to stay here and not leave no matter what. Lin Yi didn't know if going back on his word would have any effect or hope, but what Lin Yi knew was that if he just turned and left, then there would be no hope at all. Although a sky class could cure the cold qi in Xiao Xiao's body, Lin Yi wasn't sure if it would work or not. This was just something old Lin had read about in an ancient book, but the fact that the fruit could cure Xiao Xiao was verified by Zhang Liju himself. What made Lin Yi suspect the most was that Zhang Liju was already a sky class, since he could make qi-gathering pills, and there were 2 left in the tomb. That meant that he had broken through to sky class and didn't need qi-gathering pills anymore. Otherwise, Lin Yi didn't believe that a practitioner wouldn't take these pills and bring them into the tomb. As for the side effects of the qi-gathering pill, Elder Qing had said that it didn't exist in ancient times. So Zhang Liju had no reason not to take it. Since Zhang Liju was a sky class now, why didn't he save his friend? Why would he go all the way to find the fruit? This made Lin Yi feel a little unimaginable. There had to be something he didn't know about. Unless Zhang Liju didn't know that sky class could cure the cold poison. But Lin Yi didn't think that was a valid reason. With Zhang Liju's knowledge and connections, there was no way he would know what Lin Yi and Lin Yi both knew. And so this made Lin Yi guess, could it be that the effect of a sky class wasn't as good as the fire spirit's fruit? Or would there be some kind of flaw after the cure? This was also the reason why Lin Yi didn't give up. He didn't know the future. He could only hold on to the present. Sect Master Ling Yi is still outside. Qing said when she came to see the sect master in the morning. Aunt Qing, why do I feel like you're speaking up for that Ling Yi? The sect master heard this and couldn't help but smile. You didn't chase him away on purpose, did you? You wanted him to stay here so you could move me? Qing felt a little awkward. Sect master. I just think that Ling Yi is a poor kid. I'm a soft-hearted person. You know that. Yeah, I know. If you hadn't picked me up, I would have frozen to death on the streets. The sect master sighed. Aunt Qing, I'm not blaming you, logically speaking. I should help since you've said that, but you know how important the fruit is to us. So, if he doesn't have proof that he can find a refiner, I can't help him. Although I have full control of the Ice Palace, there's still the Elder Council. As long as it doesn't go against the interests of the Ice Palace, then I can keep my word. But if I do something that goes against the interests of the Ice Palace, then even if I am the sect master, the Elder Council will reject my orders. Of course, they won't use that power easily. I'm also a member of the Elder Council. Of course, I know, but if you can really find an alchemist, you won't need the Fire Spirit's fruit with the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill. As for the Elder Council, I can take care of it. At this point, little Qing revealed her dominance for the first time. In front of the sect master, she was respectful, but more than that, she was kind and doting. But in the Elder Council, Qing was on the same level as the Grand Elder. Even the Grand Elder wouldn't dare argue with Qing's words. This was also why the sect master was able to take control of the Ice Palace at such a young age. Without Qing's support, even with the support of the sect master and the Grand Elder, it wouldn't be as easy as it was now. Aunt Qing, I give up. The sect master knew that Aunt Qing was determined to put in a good word for Lin Yi. Chapter 1531. The sect master's heart softened a little. The fire spirit fruit was precious, but since Auntie Qing had said so, she couldn't go against her. After all, Auntie Qing was the one who had raised her, and while they weren't mother and daughter, they were closer than mother and daughter. The sect master knew that Aunt Qing was giving her face, which was why she was negotiating with her. Otherwise, with Aunt Qing's status in the Elder Council, even if she gave the fruit away, the Elder wouldn't be able to stop her. Since Aunt Qing was doing this, how could the sect master not give her face? But she didn't know Ling Yi, and towards a stranger, the sect master subconsciously chose not to trust him. Plus, Ling Yi's strength was far too weak in her eyes, too minuscule. He was only a little bit stronger than a mortal, so the sect master's promise to Ling Yi was just a joke. A lone cultivator finding a pill refiner? Since when did pill refiners become such a worthless profession? If he were to say that he was from an ancient sect, it would be more believable for him to be able to find an alchemist. I'm not sure about that, but it looks like it's the case. He's been carrying his girlfriend the entire time. And that's enough to convince me that he's telling the truth. Qing said, since he's loyal, then tell him to stand at the door. If he can stand there for half a month without eating, drinking, or sleeping, then I'll believe him, the sect master said. If not, then ask him to leave. Half a month. A bitter smile appeared on Qing's face. Palace mistress, it's not a problem for a mystic to not eat or sleep for 3 days. But half a month, isn't that a bit too much? Although the heaven and earth spiritual chi in our ice spirit mountain is rich, even if he cultivates all the time, the true chi brought by cultivation will not be enough for his body's daily energy consumption. Aunt Qing, I'm just testing him. What if a random person comes and says that he wants to save his girlfriend? If you're kind enough, our entire ice palace won't be enough to give away. It was rare for the sect master to crack a joke in front of Qing. When he faints, you can go wake him up. That's fine. Xiao Qing hesitated for a moment and nodded. Seeing Elder Ching appear in front of him, Lin Yi's heart finally relaxed. It seemed like the Ice Palace couldn't turn a blind eye after all. Ling Yi, why haven't you left yet? Little Qing's figure floated over, and when she saw Ling Yi, she asked indifferently. Elder Qing did not agree to my request, so I can only wait here. The fire spirit's fruit is very important to my girlfriend. I don't want to lose this opportunity. Lin Yi said respectfully, all right, since you treat this as an opportunity, then I will fulfill your wish. Little Qing nodded and said solemnly, please speak, senior. Lin Yi thought that Elder Qing would be the same as before and leave after a few sentences. He didn't think that she would agree. So, while Lin Yi was overjoyed, he started addressing Elder Qing as senior. Of course, whether it was in terms of strength or age, Lin Yi calling her senior wasn't an exaggeration. You said that you want the fire spirit's fruit to cure your girlfriend's illness, and that as long as I give it to you, you'll pay any price. Is that right? Qing asked. Yes, senior. Lin Yi said without hesitation. All right, then you can stand here. I'll come back in 15 days. If you're still here, then I can see your sincerity. I'll give you a chance to convince the sect master. Little Qing couldn't show much in front of Lin Yi, so she spoke in a cold and formal manner. All right. Lin Yi nodded. Remember, you have to stand here. You can't rest. Qing said, if you can't do it, then leave the mountain. I can do it. Lin Yi said straightforwardly. Qing nodded and didn't say anything else. She turned around and left. Lin Yi's heart was filled with excitement and happiness. He knew that this was Elder Qing's hard work. She didn't say it, but Lin Yi could feel it. He could only keep his feelings for Elder Qing in his heart with a tacit understanding between them. But to stand here for half a month without resting or leaving, this made Lin Yi want to laugh and cry. If the person standing here wasn't Lin Yi, but another mystic class master, then they'd probably be dead in half a month, right? Elder Qing didn't say that they couldn't eat or drink, but if they couldn't leave, then where would they go to eat? Who would bring a bunch of food with them for no reason? Every participant knew that the test lasted for 3 days, and so they only brought some energy replenishment elixirs, but not too much. Half a month was definitely not enough. Fortunately, Lin Yi had the jade space, and he could go in and replenish his energy whenever he wanted. Half a month wasn't a problem at all. Qing returned to the sect master's room and replied, Sect master. He agreed. All right, we'll wait for him to back off. The sect master nodded, her expression returning to her usual calmness. There were other people from the Ice Palace in the room, and so the sect master had to act like a sect master. Ling Shan brought Wang Li, Wang Hejin, and the others to Jejia town and saw the 2 victims, as well as the police's statements. From these things alone, it could be confirmed that the criminal suspect was the same person as the previous cases. However, there was still no detailed conclusion about the criminal suspect's facial features. This time, the criminal suspect also had no facial features. Ling Shan asked the father and son in the hospital in detail, but didn't get any useful information. What did the other witnesses say? Ling Shan couldn't find any useful clues on the 2 victims, and so she turned her attention to the witness. Chapter 1532. The old man didn't recognize the model, but according to his description, we got some pictures of the car for him to identify, and basically confirmed that it was a Land Rover. As for the license plate, the old man didn't pay much attention to it, but he said that it didn't have a license plate. The man said, a Land Rover. It really is a Land Rover. Ling Shan nodded. Thank you for your investigation. These clues are very useful. When Ling Shan was analyzing the case in Songshan, she had locked onto a few possible models of the suspect's car. One was a Discovery, one was a Volkswagen Tiguan, and the last was a Chevrolet Copaq. All 3 were SUVs. and they had all coincidentally appeared on the surveillance cameras not far from the crime scenes. The suspect's parking skills were very skillful, always choosing the blind spots of the surveillance cameras, and by the time they reached a place with a camera, it was already impossible to tell which car it was. Ling Shan and Lu Wangli went through several surveillance cameras near the crime scenes to come up with the 3 possible models. Ling Shan, however, couldn't confirm which car it was, but after listening to the description from the local police, Ling Shan could basically confirm that the suspect was driving or riding in a Land Rover without a license plate. Let's go. We'll go to the Highway Management Department and get the surveillance footage. Ling Shan didn't linger and went straight to the Highway Management Department to get the surveillance footage. From the surveillance video of Jiawazi Town's toll booth, it could be seen that a Land Rover without a license plate passed by the toll booth before and after the incident. However, there was only one person in the Land Rover. It was a short and fat man wearing large sunglasses. He did not match the physical characteristics of the suspect at all. In other words, this person was only the driver, not the suspect. As for the suspect, he was definitely hiding in the car, but there was a thick protective film on the back of the car, and they couldn't see what was in the back seat or the trunk at all. If the suspect was curled up in the trunk or the back seat, then the surveillance footage wouldn't be able to capture it at all. Copy this video back and investigate the identity of this man in sunglasses. Even so, Ling Shan and the others had made some progress. They didn't find the suspect's face, but they did find the driver's face. They should be able to find some clues from this driver. Yes, Lu Wangli quickly responded. However, I don't think we will be able to find anything from this person. However, Wang Hecken frowned and said, since this person directly showed up, he should be prepared to be investigated. The expressway is not the only way to Jiawazi Town. There's also a free national highway. There's no charge there, and there are no toll booths. You won't be recorded. Why did he have to take the highway? I think he shouldn't be afraid of being investigated. No matter what, this is an extremely important clue. What you said makes sense, but it's just a guess. Ling Shan wouldn't give up on any possible clues. Wang Hecken didn't say anything else, and the group drove back to Songshan. At the toll booth in Songshan, they pulled out the surveillance video. Songshan was a large toll booth, and there were surveillance videos from many angles. Ling Shan hoped that she could find some clues from them. The first few videos were similar to the one at Jiawazi Town's toll station, and there wasn't any new evidence to be found. Just when Ling Shan was about to give up, the last video caught her attention. This was a video of the car passing through the toll booth. There weren't many opportunities for reference, but in this video, Ling Shan discovered something important. The Land Rover didn't have a license plate, and after leaving the toll booth, it stopped by the roadside. A man wearing a mask got out of the car, and he looked exactly like the suspect. It's this person. There's no mistake. Ling Shan paused the video and pointed at the suspect. It should be him. This means that this Land Rover is the car that the suspect gets in every time. Lu Wangli said. Let's keep watching, see what he's trying to do with the car. Ling Shan nodded and continued watching the video, but what surprised her was that the suspect took out a license plate from the trunk and hung it on the car. He hung a license plate. Ling Shan was a little surprised. Wasn't this an unnecessary move? Yeah, there's someone on duty at the entrance of the city every day, checking cars without license plates. Lu Wangli said. They're probably afraid of being stopped. I see. Ling Shan nodded. From the clarity of the video, we can't see the license plate number. Lu Wangli, copy the video and give it to the tech department to restore the license plate. We need to find the number as soon as possible. Understood. Lu Wangli nodded and did as he was told. Starting from the afternoon, there was a snowstorm on Ice Mountain. Snowflakes the size of a palm flew around, hitting Lin Yi's face and head, but Lin Yi didn't even frown. He was facing the direction of the snowstorm because behind him was Xiao Xiao. In order to prevent the snowstorm from hitting her, Lin Yi chose to use his own body to block it for her. After finding a suitable spot, Lin Yi closed his eyes and went into the jade space to replenish his energy. It had been a few days since he'd eaten anything, and he'd been standing here the whole time. One could imagine how much stamina he'd used up, but with the energy from the jade space, Lin Yi didn't have any problems. On the stage in the Ice Palace, the sect master and Qing, one green and one white, stood in the snowstorm as well. But unlike Lin Yi, they didn't seem to be affected by the snowstorm at all. They were actually quite relaxed. Aunt Qing, I'm starting to believe what you're saying. He really does put in a lot of effort for his girlfriend, the sect master said as she looked at Lin Yi. Chapter 1533. Greenie fell silent. Although it was a little hurtful, what the sect master said was the truth. Not to mention a grade 3 alchemist. Even the grade 2 alchemist of the Ice Palace was extremely arrogant. He would only show respect to the elders and the sect master. Towards the rest of the Ice Palace, he would act high and mighty, not putting them in his eyes at all. Aunt Qing, let's go back, the sect master said faintly. It's time to rest. Lin Yi, I wonder if he'll be able to hold on? According to the disciples patrolling nearby, he hasn't left this entire time, nor has he eaten anything or taken any medicine. I really don't know how much willpower he has to be able to hold on until now. Qing sighed, but there was a hint of praise in her words. I know, if he faints, you should go check on him, the sect master said helplessly. The sun came out, and the snowstorm calmed down. Lin Yi hadn't moved for the entire night, and had been training in the jade space, so his body was covered in snow. Phew! Lin Yi moved his body and shook off the snow, feeling refreshed. After a night of training in the jade space, Lin Yi didn't feel tired at all. He wasn't affected by the snowstorm at all. Qing, who was standing far away, looked at the energetic Lin Yi and couldn't help but be surprised. For a mystic class master, even if he wasn't tired, he wouldn't be in high spirits. Why did Lin Yi look like he just woke up? Could it be that this person could sleep while standing in a snowstorm? Qing couldn't believe it, but looking at Lin Yi, she calmed down. As for how Lin Yi did it, she didn't really care. Everyone had their own secrets, and she didn't need to know. Lin Yi was able to defeat Naipeo and Nitian, and that in itself was a very special situation. It was normal for Lin Yi to have some trump cards up his sleeves. Seeing little Qing return with a calm expression, the Ice Palace master was a bit curious. Is he all right? He's fine. He looks refreshed, like he just woke up. Qing smiled. No way. How is that possible? The sect master paused. He didn't eat anything? As far as I know, he didn't. And he doesn't look like he brought anything with him, Qing said. Then we'll see? The sect master didn't say anything else. In the blink of an eye, 15 days had passed. During this time, Qing would sneak a peek at Lin Yi every morning and evening. Sometimes she would look at Lin Yi with the sect master in the middle of the night, but she wouldn't appear in front of Lin Yi. This was a test for Lin Yi's willpower as well. 15 days of ignoring someone was quite a torture. But Lin Yi had gone through strict training. Loneliness was nothing to Lin Yi. Plus, he had Xiao Xiao and Skybowl Pig. The two couldn't talk, but it made Lin Yi feel like he wasn't alone. On the evening of the 15th day, Qing appeared in front of Lin Yi on time. These days, Lin Yi's willpower and stamina had shocked Qing. As far as she could see, a mystic would only last a week at most. But Lin Yi had lasted a full 15 days, and that wasn't all. The main problem was that Lin Yi was still as energetic as ever after 15 days. Qing couldn't help but wonder what Lin Yi had been doing these past few days. Why did he look the same as before? He didn't look like someone who'd been tortured in the snow for half a month. Lin Yi, I've agreed to give you a chance. You can come with me now, Qing said to Lin Yi, her expression as calm as ever, without a trace of emotion. "Thank you, Senior." Lin Yi let out a breath of relief. His stubbornness had finally moved the Ice Palace, giving him a chance to convince the sect leader himself. Elder Qing only said that she'd give him a chance, but she didn't promise to give him the fruit for sure. This meant that Lin Yi had to show enough ability to convince the sect leader to give him the fruit. "No need for thanks, it's all up to you now," Qing said faintly. "This is all I can do." Lin Yi's eyes started to tear up as he heard Elder Qing's words. Lin Yi clenched his fist and said solemnly, "Senior, no matter if it succeeds or not, I will remember your kindness. I will repay you one day." "Lin Qing raised an eyebrow. "My real name is Lin Yi. Ling One is just an alias." Lin Yi didn't need to hide anything from Elder Qing anymore. If the Ice Palace found out that he was using an alias, then they wouldn't believe that he'd found an alchemist. That wouldn't be nice, so he might as well be honest. "At least you're honest." Qing, on the other hand, didn't think much of it. What Lin Yi did was very normal to him. Freelancers didn't have families or sects behind them, and if they offended the disciples of some sects or families during the test, it was very likely that the forces behind them would retaliate. So, to prevent that from happening, it was reasonable for freelancers to use pseudonyms to participate in the test. Qing picked up the jade box and stone tablet and brought Lin Yi to the guest room. At this moment, the sect leader was already sitting in the main seat. She was still in her white robe, looking elegant and beautiful. Lin Yi greets the sect leader. After entering, Lin Yi bowed politely to the sect leader. Lin Yi could call Elder Qing Sr. because he felt that she was a good person, and she was older than him. But for him to call a girl like the sect leader Sr., Lin Yi felt a little awkward. So he called her sect leader, which was more formal. Chapter 1534. Chapter 1533. Pushing too far, yes, Sect Master. Lin Yi nodded. "Sect Master, please give me a fire spirit's fruit, and I'll find a third-level refiner for you within 2 years. Why should I believe you?" The Sect Master asked faintly. "You're a lone practitioner without a house or sect. Why should I believe that you can find a third-level refiner in 2 years? Lone practitioners aren't necessarily weaker than houses or sects. Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nitian, they're both from the ancient times. Didn't they lose to me as well?" With that, Lin Yi puffed up his chest proudly. "I wonder if you've heard of this saying before, Sect Master? A hero doesn't need to be afraid of a weak background. As long as you're ambitious, you can be proud no matter where you go. Lin Yi, may be a lone practitioner, but how do you know that I won't have a house or a sect one day?" "All right." The sect master didn't say anything after hearing Lin Yi's words, but Qing couldn't help but slap the table. "Well said. A hero doesn't need a background. A lone practitioner at this age, the strongest under the earth class. You say you can create a house or a sect in the future. I'll believe you." Anyone can talk empty words. Why should I believe you? The sect master wasn't as emotional as Qing. However, she only looked at Lin Yi and asked calmly, "Have you seen a refiner before? Do you know one? Where are you going to find one for me in 2 years?" Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. Lin Yi didn't know how to answer the sect master's question. Lin Yi didn't know how to explain. Was Lin Yi supposed to tell her that he wanted to become a refiner? But he wouldn't be able to get past the sect master if he didn't answer, or just brushed her off. He could tell that the sect master was young but very shrewd. It wasn't very likely that he'd be able to trick her with some random story. "Actually, I'm learning alchemy. 2 years later, I'll definitely become a third-grade alchemist or above." Lin Yi sighed and decided to tell the truth. That was the only way he could convince the sect master. "You learn alchemy?" The sect master's eyes widened, as if she had just heard the funniest joke in the world. Even her usually cold face had a look of shock on it. because Lin Yi's answer really left her speechless. The sect master didn't know how to describe the person in front of her. Was he overly arrogant or overly confident? Or was he simply lying to her? Yes. Lin Yi nodded solemnly. Are you trying to make fun of me? The sect master couldn't help but frown at the decision. She didn't know what to say to the person in front of her. It's good to have ambition, but overconfidence is arrogance. Do you think that before alchemists become alchemists, they aren't normal practitioners? Lin Yi asked. It's not that I'm underestimating you, but I find it hard to believe what you're saying. The sect master said faintly, there are far too many people who want to become alchemists, but those who actually become alchemists are few and far between. Lin Yi reached out his hand, and a ball of fire appeared in it. Sometimes facts speak louder than words. Lin Yi had to show her what he was capable of to convince her. What do you think now? Fire? You've already formed a physical fire? Little Qing was a little surprised. Although people who could condense their pill fire might not necessarily become alchemists, and many people gave up halfway. All alchemists started from condensing their pill fire. The sect master raised an eyebrow, clearly a little surprised, but her expression didn't change much. Condensing a refinement fire is the first step to becoming a master of refining. But a master of refining requires talent. Being able to condense a refinement fire doesn't necessarily mean you can become a master of refining. Too many alchemists give up halfway. The sect master's words struck at Lin Yi's lifeline. Lin Yi didn't want to admit it, but he had to admit that the sect master was very strong. She was young, but a sky-class master's knowledge was truly different. It could be said that Lin Yi had just entered the doorstep of being an alchemist, but his control over fire was still stagnant. If he didn't make any progress, then Lin Yi would be like those alchemists who gave up halfway. If he couldn't raise the temperature of his fire, then he would be useless. The fire in his hand would only be a plaything, and it would be useless for alchemy. I will work hard. Lin Yi could only say that. I'll believe you this once and give you a fire spirit's fruit. Within 2 years, if you become a third realm alchemist or above, then you will be an eternal ally of the Ice Palace. Otherwise, we will be enemies. Think about the consequences of lying to the Ice Palace. The sect master's so-called trust in Lin Yi. This once was just to give face to Aunt Qing. At least she couldn't believe that Lin Yi could become a third realm alchemist in 2 years. Even if he was a genius at alchemy and had started learning from a young age, it would still take him tens of years to become a third realm alchemist. How could someone who had just learned alchemy become a third realm alchemist in 2 years? If alchemy was that easy to train, then it would have been a profession long ago. In the Sky Elixir House, the young headmaster was already 20 years old and was only a second realm alchemist. He hadn't even broken through to the third realm yet. Even in a family of alchemists like this, it was impossible to level up so quickly, let alone a lone cultivator like Lin Yi. Therefore, the sect master didn't believe that Lin Yi could become a third realm alchemist or above. She was only saying this to save face for the Ice Palace and to give face to Aunt Qing. Can I have 2? Lin Yi asked weakly. Huh? The sect master thought she heard wrongly and gasped. Although she usually pretended to be very serious, she was just a teenage girl. She really couldn't imagine how this person in front of her could be so thick-skinned. She had agreed to give him 1 fruit because of Aunt Qing. She had made up her mind, and he was shameless enough to ask for 2? What's wrong? Lin Yi felt that his request was a bit overboard, but he had to try. Since he was here, he couldn't just save Xiao Xiao, right? His future mother-in-law was still waiting for treatment. What do you think the fire spirit's fruit is? Like the dragon fruit, something that can be sold everywhere? The sect master couldn't hold back her dissatisfaction anymore. Giving you one is already good enough. How many more do you want? Chapter 1535. A rare sight, ugh. Lin, he was just asking. It was already hard enough to get one fruit, and asking for a second one from the Ice Palace wasn't just being shameless anymore. It was just forcing them to do something they didn't want to do. Plus, even if it's just this one, I'll have to ask. The sect master said. You said that you're using the fruit to treat your girlfriend, but from what I know, it's not considered a herb, right? How are you going to treat your girlfriend with it? My girlfriend has a cold energy in her body, or in layman's terms, it's frost poison. Linny said she needs to use the fruit to suppress the cold energy, otherwise her life will be in danger. Cold energy? Frost poison? The sect master frowned. The frost poison was something that only existed in legends, and no one had ever heard of anyone getting it in real life. Of course, normal people often referred to it as getting a cold, but it wasn't actually a frost poison. Yes, Linny nodded. I've looked through some ancient texts, and there's a way to treat the frost poison. It's to use the fruit. Let me take a look at your girlfriend. The sect master nodded, but she still had to confirm it. She wasn't just responsible for the Ice Palace, but also for Aunt Qing. What if she gave the fruit to a scammer out of kindness? She'd probably blame herself. That's fine. Linny sighed, but still nodded. His instincts told him that the sect master wouldn't do anything to harm Xiao Xiao, since he was like an ant in front of her. If the sect master really wanted to do something to him, Lin Yi knew that he wouldn't be able to run away. The difference in strength between the two was too big, and they weren't even on the same level. And so, even if the sect master wanted to harm Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to stop her. And so Lin Yi agreed very generously and put Xiao Xiao in his arms, signaling the sect master to check on her. The sect master nodded and put her hand on the meridians in Xiao Xiao's arm. The sect master wasn't a doctor, but a sky class was knowledgeable, and she could sense some common illnesses, let alone something like frost poison. If it really did exist, then Xiao Xiao's condition would be different from normal people. Using the fire spirit's fruit to treat frost poison, that's quite strange. The sect master only said half of the sentence before a look of disbelief appeared on her face. She was originally sitting on the chair, but at this moment, she jumped up and stared at Lin Yi, agitated. You're saying that she's poisoned with the cold poison? Isn't that so? Lin Yi was a little confused as to why the sect master would have such a big reaction. The sect master wanted to say frost poison his ass, but didn't think it was very polite. Plus, she couldn't be bothered to argue with Lin Yi anymore. She put her hand on Xiao Xiao's meridians and started checking them carefully. Sect master, Qing was a little curious about what the sect master was doing. Aunt Qing, you're quite knowledgeable. Help me take a look as well. This girl's constitution. It's very similar to the ice heart jade bone that Master talked about, but it's not quite the same. The frost energy in her body seems to be pure. The sect master said excitedly. Could it be? What? Qing's face froze after hearing the sect master's words, and she quickly grabbed Xiao Xiao's wrist. A look of shock on her face as well. SSSS. Qing took in a cold breath. It's not the ice heart jade bone. It definitely isn't. Sect master, you mean the legendary frost body? This actually exists. The sect master was shocked as well. This type of constitution hasn't appeared in 1,000 years. Yeah, the legends say that the founder had this type, but it's been so hard to find someone with the ice heart jade bone. Our Ice Palace and Snowy Valley have been looking for someone with it, but we didn't think that. Qing was getting more and more excited. It really is the extreme cold energy. The two's conversation confused Lin Yi. He didn't know what these two were trying to do. Did they not want to give him the fire spirit's fruit, or did they have other intentions? But Lin Yi didn't say anything to disturb them. If the two had other intentions, they'd definitely ask him, "You want to give her the fruit?" As expected, the sect master looked up at Lin Yi after checking Xiao Xiao. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Lin Yi asked. That's a waste. The sect leader said, She has a rare Een physique. You gave her the fire spirit fruit, and while it can suppress the Een chi inside her, have you thought about the consequences of that? She's not a practitioner, and her body might be fine in the beginning, but as time goes on, her body will get weaker and weaker. Also, the fire spirit's fruit suppression is only temporary. It's not permanent. That's Lin was a bit surprised. He knew what Xiao Xiao's body was like. Naturally, he'd thought that it was a hereditary disease, but it turned out to be a rare cold body. And it seemed like this was very important to the Ice Palace. The reason why the fire spirit's fruit is so precious to the Ice Palace is because when we train with it, there's a chance that we might go crazy. The fruit can suppress the cold chi in our bodies, allowing us to slowly refine it. The sect master said. Then Linny frowned, not sure what the sect master was trying to say. It seemed like things were changing. She's your girlfriend? The sect master suddenly remembered something important. Yes. Linny was confused, but he nodded. Then she's lost her virginity? The sect master glared at Lin Yi, as if she had a deep grudge against Lin Yi. Lin Yi shuddered involuntarily. No. Lin Yi shook his head. That's good. The sect master let out a breath of relief after hearing Lin Yi's words. That's good. That's really good. What's good? Lin Yi asked, but the sect master didn't answer Lin Yi. She picked up Xiao Xiao all of a sudden. Aunt Qing, let's go back first. I'm going to ask the Elders' Council to test her physique right away. What are you doing? Lin Yi was shocked to see the sect master pick Xiao Xiao up, but the sect master was simply too fast, and Lin Yi didn't even have time to react before Xiao Xiao was in her hands. Chapter 1536. Stop them. The sect master ignored Lin Yi and turned to leave with Xiao Xiao in her arms, leaving the room in the blink of an eye. Lin Yi didn't even think about it, running out of the room on instinct. But a sky class was already very fast, and Lin Yi couldn't catch up no matter how hard he tried. Let go of my girlfriend. Lin Yi was really panicking now. He didn't care that this was a sky class anymore. Roaring at the sect master. Lin Yi couldn't be blamed for panicking. Both the sect master and Qing were looking at Xiao Xiao as if she was a treasure, and Lin Yi was really worried that they'd do something to her. They were talking about inheritances and whatnot, and it made Lin Yi even more confused. Lin Yi was worried that this ice palace had some sort of tradition, wanting to use Xiao Xiao for some sort of ritual. How could Lin Yi let them take her away? Plus, the question the sect master asked made Lin Yi even more uncertain if they didn't have any ulterior motives. Why would they ask about Xiao Xiao's virginity? Lin Yi really didn't understand why the Ice Palace would ask this question, but the legend said that they used virgin boys and girls for rituals. That wasn't uncommon. Seeing that the sect master was ignoring him, Lin Yi mustered all the strength he had in his body to compress an energy bomb and throw it at the sect master's direction. Lin Yi was lucky. But Lin Yi's energy bomb didn't have that much energy in it, so Lin Yi wasn't worried about accidentally injuring Xiao Xiao. But the sect master didn't even turn her head at Lin Yi's attack, dodging it with a slight movement. The energy bomb landed on the walls of the Ice Palace, blasting a huge hole in the wall. The next moment, the sect master stopped in her tracks, her eyes full of shock as she looked at the wall Lin Yi had destroyed. She turned to look at Lin Yi. How did you do that? This was the first time the sect master looked at Lin Yi. She'd never looked at Lin Yi before. A mystic, even the number one mystic, was nothing in the eyes of a sky class, especially a sky class late phase peak like the sect master. And so, in her excitement, she picked up Xiao Xiao and left, not putting Lin Yi in her eyes at all. She couldn't be bothered to talk to him. But Lin Yi's move reminded her of when he fought Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nitian. You used compressed chi just now. Where are you taking my girlfriend? Lin Yi didn't know if the sect master would be mad at him for using that energy bomb, but Lin Yi puffed up his chest and asked, "I don't need the fruit. I can wake her up." The sect master said, "When she wakes up, I'll bring her to see you." "I see." Lin Yi breathed out in relief. If the sect master said so, then it had to be true. With the sect master's strength, there was no way she'd be scared of him even if he had an energy bomb. With how strong the sect master was, there was no need for her to lie to him. The chi in your body can't be used up. The sect master frowned as she looked at Lin Yi, confused. "I have my own way of training," Lin Yi said. The sect master nodded. Since Lin Yi didn't want to talk about it, she didn't ask anymore. Everyone's arts were secret, just like how the Ice Palace wouldn't just give it to strangers. At this time, little Qing also walked over. The crater on the Ice Palace's walls had shocked her quite a bit. "Don't worry, the sect master can wake her up." Qing gave Lin Yi a comforting look. "The inner sect forbids men from entering. That's the rule of the Ice Palace." "I see." Lin Yi nodded. "All right then, senior. Sect master, I'll wait here. Thank you." Since they said they could wake Xiao Xiao up, it didn't matter what their intentions were. Lin Yi had to thank them. The sect master and Qing floated away, and Lin Yi looked at their backs worriedly, but there was nothing he could do. "Sect master, she's Lin Yi's girlfriend after all." Qing smiled bitterly. "Aunt Qing, I'm just worried." There was no way the sect master would admit that she was looking down on Lin Yi. But that Lin Yi does have some tricks up his sleeves, being able to compress chi like that, killing 1,000 enemies and hurting 800 of himself. It seems like killing 1,000 enemies and not hurting himself? I told you, he's a freelancer, different from the others. If we can make friends with him, we shouldn't be enemies. Qing said, "Enemies are out of the question. His girlfriend will become the inheritor of our Ice Palace, and once she accepts the legacy, I'll step down and join the Elder Council." The sect master said, "It really is a Coldine constitution. If she really can accept the legacy, it'll be a great fortune for our Ice Palace. We've finally found the inheritor we've been missing for a long time." Qing nodded. "Yeah, it's only a few years until the Sky class meeting. I didn't think we'd find an inheritor before then." The sect master said, "It's lucky that Lin Yi came to our Ice Palace to find the Fire Spirit's fruit. If he came to Snow Valley to find the Ice Spirit's fruit, he'd be their inheritor." The Ice Palace and the Snow Valley both practiced ice attribute mental cultivation techniques, so the requirements for the cultivators were very similar. The Ice Heart and Jade Bone Constitution was the most suitable for cultivation, but the two ancient sects happened to be two of the four great sects that had opened the Heavenly Great Island. It was even more difficult for two sects to find inheritors with the same constitution who knew how jealous Snow Valley would be when they heard that the Ice Palace had found an inheritor with a Coldine constitution. As they spoke, the two of them arrived at the Ice Palace's Elder Council's Elder Hall. "All elders, come out and see the Palace Master. The Palace Master has something important to announce to everyone." Little Qing shouted towards the elders' courtyard. Most families or sects, when the sect master went to the Elder Council to discuss matters, they would be very respectful. There weren't many elders that would come out to see the sect master, and this was enough to show the sect master and Qing's position in the Ice Palace. "Greetings, sect master." The one who spoke was the first elder of the Ice Palace, also a Sky class late phase peak. But in front of the sect master, he didn't show any disrespect. The two were of the same level, but no matter what, the sect master was still the sect master, so it was normal for her to greet her. The great elder walked out with 4 elders. These 4 were all Heaven Realm experts, although 2 of them were only Heaven Realm initial stage, 2 were Heaven Realm middle stage, and none of them were Heaven Realm late stage. However, this kind of lineup was still top-notch in the ancient sects. Chapter 1537. Chapter 1536. Xiao Xiao awakens a sect with 7 sky-class masters, 2 of whom were sky-class late-phase peak. This was the reason why the Ice Palace was so strong. Grand Elder, take a look at this girl. The sect master nodded to the elder and lifted Xiao Xiao up from her arms. Oh. First Elder didn't know what the sect master wanted, but he did as he was told and looked at Xiao Xiao carefully. There was nothing wrong with her. Sect master, what do you mean? Check her constitution. The sect master didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she saw that First Elder didn't understand her intentions. Grand Elder heard the sect master's words and quickly reached out to grab Xiao Xiao's meridians. A moment later, he cried out in shock, Colding body? Is it really a Colding body? It's the legendary Colding body. It's exactly the same as the records left behind by the elders. What Colding body? The other elders' eyes widened upon hearing Grand Elder's words as well. Eager to check Xiao Xiao's constitution. That's right, it's a Colding body. The sect master nodded. First Elder, what do you think? Sect master, this is the spirit of the elders. The heavens have blessed our ice palace. A Colding body is even more suitable for our arts than an ice heart jade bones. Our elders are different from Snowy Valley's elders. Snowy Valley's elders had an ice heart jade bones, so their arts were created especially for ice heart jade bones. The elder said. Our elders, on the other hand, had a Colding body, and our arts were the most suitable for that as well. It's just that a Colding body never appeared again, and so no one has trained their arts to the extreme. Right now, this girl doesn't know how to guide the Colding energy in her body, to the extent that the Colding energy seeped into her heart and spleen, causing her to fall unconscious. The palace lord said, Great Elder, you and I will first work together to suppress the Colding energy in her body. When she wakes up, I will prepare to officially accept her as a disciple on behalf of my master, and accept her as my junior sister. All right, Grand Elder nodded solemnly. Naturally, she knew how important Xiao Xiao was to the Ice Palace, and so she agreed without hesitation. Suppressing the cold energy in her body required quite a bit of qi, and even a sky-class late-phase peak would need some time to fully recover. However, the good thing was that he was working with the Ice Palace Master. The 2 of them were at the peak late phase of the Heaven Realm, so it wouldn't be too strenuous. Other elders, protect me, and the First Elder. With that, the sect master placed Xiao Xiao on the ground. Everyone, line up, Xiao Qing said to the crowd. The Ice Palace Master and Grand Elder, on the other hand, held onto the meridians of Xiao Xiao's arms, channeling the arts of the Ice Palace. All of a sudden, a wave of cold energy exploded between the 2. We'll first force the cold energy out of her body, then suppress the cold energy in her body, the Ice Palace Master said. The Great Elder nodded, and the 2 of them tacitly began this difficult task together. In an instant, Xiao Xiao, who was on the ground, started emitting a cold aura. Not long after, a layer of ice crystals started forming on the surface of her body, and as time went on, the ice crystals grew thicker and thicker until it became a thick layer. All right, Grand Elder said to the Ice Palace Master. Now, we'll work together to suppress the cold energy in her body. The sect master nodded, and a layer of mist appeared on their palms, covering Xiao Xiao's meridians. This place was unusually cold, but both the sect master and elder's foreheads were soon dripping with sweat. This wasn't an easy task. It was clear that this wasn't an easy task. This process lasted for around half an hour, and the sect master and elder let out a long breath. It seemed that they had temporarily suppressed the cold energy in Xiao Xiao's body. Aunt Qing, carry her to the room to rest. I need to rest as well. The Ice Palace Master wiped the sweat off her forehead. Yes, Palace Master. Qing carried Xiao Xiao and walked to the guest room. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was pacing back and forth in front of the ice palace, anxiously. The wall in front of him blocked his vision completely, and Lin Yi had no idea what was going on inside. He hadn't been this nervous in the 15 days he'd been waiting in front of the ice palace. Qing carried Xiao Xiao to the bed in the guest room, staying by her side the entire time. After a while, the ice on Xiao Xiao slowly melted under the room's temperature, and when it was all water, Xiao Xiao slowly woke up. "Linny, honey, did you save me again?" Xiao Xiao's first sentence after waking up was subconsciously, but when she saw the situation in front of her, she froze. This was a place she'd never seen before, and the woman in front of her was someone she didn't know. Xiao Xiao became alert as she looked at the unfamiliar woman. She wanted to get up, but realized that she didn't have any strength left in her body. "You're awake." Qing couldn't help but smile when she saw that the first thing Xiao Xiao did was look for Lin Yi. It seemed that this couple was quite close. Where am I? Who are you?" Xiao Xiao looked at Qing. "This is the Ice Palace. Your boyfriend Lin Yi brought you here to ask for the fire spirit's fruit. The palace master and elder saved you," Qing explained. "Ice Palace? Then where's Lin Yi? Did you guys feed me the fruit?" Xiao Xiao looked around, not seeing Lin Yi anywhere. Something wasn't right. "No, it was the palace master and grand elder who temporarily suppressed the yin energy within your body," said Xiao Qing. Xiao Xiao was about to say something when a voice came from the door. "Aunt Qing, she's awake." "Palace master, she's awake," Qing said quickly. "Aunt Qing, there's no outsider here. No need to stand on ceremony," the palace master said before turning to Xiao Xiao. "What's your name? Who are you?" Xiao Xiao looked at the palace master warily. This was a very pretty and classy girl, but Xiao Xiao didn't care if she was pretty or not. She just wanted to see Lin Yi. "Where's my Lin Yi, honey?" Chapter 1538. No response, you saved me? Thank you. My name is Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao was someone who knew what was good and bad. She knew from Qing that it was the sect master who saved her. But wasn't the sect master a little too young? Was she the same age as her? "Xiao Xiao, I'd like to take you in as a disciple on behalf of my master. You can join the Ice Palace and learn our arts," the sect master said. "What do you think?" Xiao Xiao froze. This was too sudden, and she wasn't prepared at all. She didn't know what was going on. Why did the Ice Palace want her to join all of a sudden? The Ice Palace master thought that Xiao Xiao was too excited after hearing the news. Ice Palace was an ancient sect after all, and there were countless people fighting for these 10 spots just for the outer disciple spot. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, not only could become an inner disciple, but she was also the sect master's junior sister. She was practically the next sect master. Why do I want to join the Ice Palace? Where's Lin Yi, honey? I want to see him." Xiao Xiao was a little lost, not knowing why the Ice Palace was making this request all of a sudden. Xiao Xiao's reply made both the Ice Palace master and Qing pause. From what Xiao Xiao said, it seemed like she didn't want to join the Ice Palace. Could it be that it was their own wishful thinking? "Xiao Xiao, do you know your situation?" The sect master said, disappointed. "You have a rare cold constitution, one that's only seen once in 1,000 years. This constitution was born to train in the Ice Palace arts under the guidance of the Ice Palace's mental cultivation method. The cold yin qi in your body will all transform into your own true qi. It will bring unimaginable benefits to the increase of your cultivation speed. As long as you accept the heritage of Ice Mountain, you'll be the next Ice Palace master." Xiao Xiao was shocked by the sect master's words as well. She didn't think that she'd be able to train as well. And it seemed like she was a rare prodigy, someone who could even become the sect master. And so she couldn't help but ask subconsciously, then, "Can I become a mystic too?" Mystic? The sect master paused and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Your future achievements will definitely surpass mine. I'm currently at the peak late phase of heaven class. Heaven rank? Peak late phase? Xiao Xiao's eyes widened in shock. Because of her relationship with her father and Lin Yi, she knew a lot more about practitioners, but mystic was rare even in the common world. The Ice Palace Master was a sky class, and at the very top. From what she said, she could also become a heaven stage expert. That's right. Moreover, you might even surpass the heaven realm. The sect master said. Xiao Xiao hesitated. I'll ask Lin Yi honey. If he wants me to stay, then I'll stay. It's your own business. Why are you asking him? The Ice Palace Master was furious after hearing Xiao Xiao's words. She was really afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't agree after Xiao Xiao asked. That'd be troublesome, looking at Xiao Xiao like this. She wouldn't focus on her training even if she forced her to stay if Lin Yi didn't agree. I want to see him. Xiao Xiao didn't care what the Ice Palace Master said, insisting. Don't you know that the cold energy in your body is only temporarily suppressed? If you go back, you won't be able to live. The Ice Palace Master didn't know what to say anymore. Do you agree or not? I want to ask Lin Yi honey, Xiao Xiao said. The Ice Palace Master was speechless. She patted her forehead and said helplessly, Aunt Qing, bring Lin Yi in. But I thought men weren't allowed in the inner sect. Qing paused. He's not an outsider. He's the husband of the next Ice Palace Master. The Ice Palace Master shook her head, laughing at herself. Okay. Little Qing answered and left the room. Xiao Xiao let out a breath of relief when she heard the Ice Palace Master ask Qing to bring Lin Yi. The Ice Palace Master told Qing that Lin Yi was fine and waiting outside, but Xiao Xiao didn't really believe it. After all, everyone here was a stranger. They were all around her when she woke up, and logically speaking, they should be her saviors. But Lin Yi wasn't here, and Xiao Xiao still felt uneasy. Don't worry, he's fine. Number 1 under Earth class. He's not simple. The Ice Palace Master was getting a headache. This Xiao Xiao seemed to listen to Lin Yi a lot. Even someone like her, who wasn't good at flattering people, had to say a few good things to Xiao Xiao. Things had deviated from what she expected. And as far as the Ice Palace Master was concerned, she thought that as long as Xiao Xiao woke up, she'd be happy to accept the offer on behalf of her master. She didn't believe that anyone would reject such a generous offer. But Xiao Xiao didn't seem to feel anything after hearing it, as if joining the Ice Palace wasn't that big of a deal at all. She even wanted to ask Lin Yi to make the decision. This was driving the Ice Palace Master crazy. In order to get Xiao Xiao to join the Ice Palace Master had no choice but to force herself to praise Lin Yi in front of Xiao Xiao to leave a good impression. If she really didn't join the Ice Palace, it'd be a huge loss for the Ice Palace. It was true that becoming an inner disciple of the Ice Palace was a very difficult thing for normal practitioners, but at the same time, it was extremely difficult for the Ice Palace to find a suitable disciple with good potential. This was why the Ice Palace Master and Qing had been searching for someone with ice heart all these years to no avail, and Xiao Xiao just so happened to be the one the Ice Palace was looking for. Xiao Xiao's potential even exceeded their estimations. There was no way they'd let her go. The Ice Palace may be strong, but if they wanted Xiao Xiao to stay here to train, accept the legacy, and even open sky class island, they had to be willing. Otherwise, the Ice Palace wouldn't be able to force her. They couldn't just kill her, could they? Number 1 under Earth class? What do you mean? Xiao Xiao's interest was piqued when she heard about Lin Yi. The Ice Palace Master wasn't someone who liked to gossip, but now that Xiao Xiao asked, she had to patiently tell Xiao Xiao about Lin Yi's trial and how he got the medicine for her in order to build a good relationship with her future junior sister. Xiao Xiao was mesmerized by the story, hearing how Lin Yi carried her on his back and stood in front of the Ice Palace for 15 days and nights, not resting or eating anything. She couldn't hold back her tears Lynn E. Honey is so good to me. You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel? Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.